Welcome to the one and only Tszyu.
G'day guys, how are we going? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, March the 17th, 2025. And can you believe that we are halfway through the third month of the year? I've just gotten used to saying 2025 and we're almost into April. Pretty crazy. But I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a better weekend than me. It was a little bit stressful, but I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay now until Thursday. I'm talking about my Blue Boys, Carlton. Probably the most embarrassing loss that they've had in the last probably 30 or 40 years. But what a way to start the year. I hope your team won, unless you're a Richmond supporter, by the way. But no, they were fantastic, Richmond, and they showed us how to play and how to start a new season. But also the weekend with boxing, Nick Ball with the stoppage win over TJ Doheny. Edgar Berlanga, what did you make of that? I don't know what to make of it. That guy fought Jonathan, what was it, Gonzalez Ortiz, I think his name was, with the stretch marks. Yeah, not a great performance. I said on Walking Boxing this morning, surely they could have found someone a little more suitable than Jonathan Gonzalez Ortiz. What's next for him? We've got George Kambosos this weekend. What do you make of his fight with Adored Jordan? Does it interest you at all? This is the big question. I've spoken with a lot of people in the know, or just in boxing in general. Obviously, a lot of you guys and girls out there as well. And no one is really giving a toss about this fight. That must be pretty frustrating for George, because it's a big comeback for him. They obviously rate Dord Jordan. Well, they're trying to convince us that they rate Dord Jordan, but no one's buying it. And literally, I would think if it was available for pay-per-view, it is on free to, well, I'll say free to air. It's on DAZN. If you got DAZN, it'll be on. So, yeah, some interesting things coming up. And we've got Tszyu in what, about 3 weeks' time. Not a lot said about that fight at the moment either, when you think about it. I know it'll probably heat up, a week and a half or so before the event. But normally around a Tszyu fight at an event, by this stage, 3 weeks out, the news sites are flooded with stories about Tim and what's next. You just get a feeling that maybe the boxing media have maybe just been told by No Limit, hey, can you give us a break, guys? It's pretty hard to live up to these expectations when you're putting him out there every day saying that we're going to do this and do that. So we'll see. All right, we'll get some comments there. If you're new to the show, forgive me while I'm looking away, by the way. I'm just looking at the comments to make sure they're all going to be in order, because for some reason on my comments section, they all come up a little bit skewed. So, if you're new to the show, comment, questions, whatever it might be, put it in there. And as it says there, let's talk some boxing. All right, let's start with M&M. How are you, M&M? Thank you for the stuff you've been sending me too, mate. I appreciate that. It's great that we've got people like M&M. And if you're one of them too, thank you. That if I haven't seen anything or I've talked about something I'm not quite sure of, send me a message on Instagram, or even on, I don't think you can do it on YouTube, can you? But send me a message on Instagram. If you haven't followed us, you can see up there, follow us on Instagram as well, and send me any articles or anything you've come across, because it all is, if it's worth talking about, of course, we'll do it on either here or on Walking Boxing. All right, so I'm going to get to your comments first there, M&M. I recently saw Andrew Hunt is coming back to boxing. Well, if that is the case, M&M, that is fantastic news. He's a real talent. Saw him up close and personal when he fought in Bendigo on the Michael Zarafa and Jeff Horn card. The kid can fight, and a really, really nice young guy as well. I'm not quite sure what happened with Andrew. I know there were some issues outside of boxing and maybe he didn't have the hunger anymore. I'm not sure. But I'm glad he's back, if that is the case, because what's it been, a couple of years? I think it might have been 3 years, I don't know. But really, really good young talent. And, yeah, I am very happy that he is back. All right, another one there from you, Eminem. What's everyone's thoughts on Tszyu versus Keith Thurman? Very good question. Actually, we haven't had a show, have we, since last week's event? Well, put that in there as well. What did you think of Brock Jarvis versus Keith Thurman? Apologies about that. I thought we'd had a show since then, but that was last Wednesday, wasn't it? So, yep, give me your thoughts on that as well. And as Eminem says there, what's everyone's thoughts on the potential Tszyu-Keith Thurman fight? Were you impressed by Keith Thurman? That's a big question. Were you impressed by Keith or extremely let down by Brock, or a little bit of both? Are you disappointed in Brock, or did it end just the way you thought it would end? And what are your thoughts on Keith Thurman? And the jury is out. Sorry, Eminem, I'll repeat your, or I'll complete your comment there in a second. But what do we think of the Tszyu-Keith Thurman fight? For me, it's still a mystery. I don't think Keith Thurman really answered anything on Wednesday night, apart from he's still obviously levels above someone like Brock Jarvis. But Tszyu, we don't know anything about Tszyu yet. How's he going to come back? Is he going to struggle? I just think he needs to win. That's all I think. I don't care how he does it. He could be on the defensive and not engage for 12 rounds and outbox Joey Spencer. I wouldn't worry me. Just get the win. And I think his team would be the same. But until we see Tim, it's very, very hard to make assumptions about how that fight is going to go. I'll complete your question there, mate. Doing exactly what they said they wouldn't do and looking past Tim's next opponent at hand. Very good point, Eminem. Excellent point. You're right. Actually, was it Tszyu's crew talking about it, though? And what I can see what you're saying there is that Tszyu was very adamant. Guys, do not speak about anyone past Joey Spencer. And here we are, all the boxing media, the day after Tszyu and Brock Jarvis. It was just flooded with what's going to happen with Tszyu and Keith Thurman. Big fight on the horizon, blah, 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 blah. No Limit were definitely one of the culprits. But to be fair, I don't think Tim or anyone else really have said anything, or have they? I did see afterwards when Keith was talking on the microphone, Tim sort of doing this with his hand, the talking gesture. So, I don't know, maybe he just got caught up in the moment, but very, very good point there, mate. And you're right, they are doing exactly what they said they wouldn't do. Well, the boxing media is anyway. All right, where is the next? Another one from you there, mate. Where is it? All right, here we go. One more from Eminem. Also, one of my fave up-and-comer Aussie boxers is coming back. The Flamingo, Jacob NG, after a 3-year layoff after that controversial loss to Billy Did. Well, it's probably been one of the biggest mysteries in boxing, Eminem. Why? Look, I understand that loss was disappointing. It was a disqualification loss. Not the sort of loss I wouldn't have thought, or situation that would have made you sit out for 3 years and wonder whether it's all worth it, or wonder whether you've got what it takes. It was just one of those things. It was a very, very even fight up until that point. And if you didn't see it, I think he picked him up, didn't he, and dropped him on the ground or something along that, or they got tangled up and he got dropped on the ground and had to retire because of his back. But a 3-year layoff because of that, I know he'd be disappointed. But is it enough to say, oh, well, I'm going to question my standing in world boxing or even Australian boxing? It doesn't make much sense to me. Because afterwards, like, oh, well, it's just one of those things. You live and you learn. You got disqualified, put it behind you. It doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, does it? I just would have thought he would have maybe taken 3 or 4 months off and came back. I mean, I understand that Billy Dib had to retire because of the cancer, of course, and came back, and congratulations on him for doing that. But yeah, it's an interesting one to take 3 years off after a disqualification loss. It really wouldn't have had any bearing on your career. Anyway, only Jacob knows the story behind that. All right, old mate Big J, what do you got there? I'm looking for your comment there. All right, hey mate, well, as predicted, Brock Jarvis got his ass handed to him again and proved he'll be nothing more than a domestic-level scrapper and cannon fodder for better fighters. Yeah, well, that's probably it in a nutshell there, Big J. You're 100%. I must admit, I didn't expect it to be that easy. And I don't know whether you were, or by the sounds of things, you weren't surprised at all. I was surprised at how easy the fight ended as soon as Keith Thurman decided it was going to end. You could just see the tempo change. Now, Keith afterwards said he got a little bit of a body shot in there and saw Brock just wince just a little bit. But it was almost like as soon as he went from first gear to second, or even neutral to first, that's how low the gears were at that stage. It was over in the space of 20 or 30 seconds. And that's what really surprised me. I really thought that, and he did for the first 2 rounds, Brock. I actually thought he did okay. He wore a couple of punches in the first round, but I thought he followed or finished strong. I thought he had a good second round, good half of the third round. But obviously it was charade, what they call it, a charade. Charade, yes, an illusion, because Keith Thurman was playing possum. He was just prolonging the inevitable. And as soon as he upped it, he went from pretty much the white zone into the yellow zone. Didn't even get into the orange or red zone. That's how quick it was over. And Brock backed up straight away, which I don't think was a smart thing to do. If anything, he maybe should have tried to grab Keith and sort of hold his ground a little bit, maybe wrestle him back and try and get a bit of ascendancy back. But he actually backed off in a straight line, by the way. And just a little bit tip, anyone out there, it's an aspiring young boxer, you never, ever, ever back off in a straight line. You are just a sitting duck. Back off to the side, okay? Or better yet, get close. Go against the natural instinct and get close. Close the distance and hang on. But if not, go to your right or go to your left. Do not go back in a straight line, especially with your chin up in the air like Brock did. And boom, boom, boom. Jeez, what I will say about Keith Thurman, though, just some beautiful punches that he landed. I know Brock can be hit and hit often, and doesn't really take those big punches that well. But the combinations that Keith Thurman put together, that was the one thing I was very, very impressed with. Just boom, boom, boom. And then again, boom, 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 and down he went again. So, but yeah, mate, you've hit it on the head there. Yes, hard to argue that he did get his ass handed to him, and he'll be nothing more than a domestic level scrapper and cannon fighter for better fighters. My concern, Big J, and so I don't want to get too far behind here, guys, but I promise I'll catch up. I've got some real concerns that Brock, if he doesn't maybe go back to domestic level or maybe change trainers to someone that actually knows what they're doing, maybe all of the above, I don't know, but I can see him taking some pretty bad beatings and getting knocked out, and maybe in 10 or 15 years' time being one of those guys you talk to and they're looking through you glassy-eyed with a drool of saliva going down the mouth. And I don't like to say that, but that's what I fear for Brock. I really do. And there's some other fighters out there that have been in the same boat, but I see it too often. A lot of fighters I used to fight with back in the day that turned pro, they had a lot of wars, wore a lot of punches, and you talk to them and think, holy shit, this is not the same guy I knew 20 years ago. Jesus, what the hell happened here? And I don't want to see that with Brock. I mean, I don't know Brock that well. I've only met him a few times, but whether it's Brock or anyone else, I don't like to see it. And look, let's just hope that Brock's got his taste of stepping up now. Maybe realise that he's not quite at that level, and maybe just come back. Plenty of good domestic fights for Brock. I don't think he should be fighting at 160. He did maybe say he might go up to 160 afterwards. 154, if not, try and get back to 147. I know he's big up top. He's thick. But I just really worry. I mean, can you imagine him in there with someone like a Isaac Hardman? You know, I know Isaac's at middleweight and he's sort of semi-retired at the moment, but I just worry about someone like Brock getting hit that hard by someone like Isaac Hardman. But anyway, I'm with you there, mate. Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue with your point there. There's going to be a domestic level scrapper and cannon fodder for better fighters. I would hope that No Limit or any other promoter out there wouldn't do that, Big J, and have him as cannon fodder. And more importantly, his team, his dad, his friends, whoever it might be, would not allow him to fight those good guys. I think we've seen the end of Brock Jarvis at the really elite level, but there's no reason why he can't probably fight at domestic level. I think a fight with Nikita Tszyu would still be an entertaining fight. I think that's actually not a bad fight, an even fight. I would want to probably see him go above Nikita. Nikita, we don't know how good Nikita's going to be, of course, but I still think that's a winnable fight from maybe the Cole Mazzudias, the Benjamin Hussains, maybe Ben Marnies. There's still some okay fights out there for him, but I think it's pretty obvious that he's not at the elite level, mate. It's blatantly obvious, isn't it? All right, I'll keep going with you, Big J. Where are you? You got a couple of comments there. Don't know why they go jumbled for the first few comments. All right, harsh words, I know, but this is the truth. Twice he stepped up and twice he got smashed. Out of all the 154-pound fighters in No Limit stable, I believe Jarvis is the weakest, and another fighter could eat him. Ooh, okay. But as for Thurman being back, let's not get ahead of ourselves. George fight this week, and it seems there's little interest. Yeah, well, as I said, Big J, I'm not getting ahead of myself as far as Keith Thurman goes. He probably did exactly what a fighter of his stature should do, and that's blow out someone like Brock Jarvis. We saw it yesterday with Edgar Berlanga and Jonathan Gonzalez-Ortiz. That's just what happened. So, yeah, I'm certainly not getting ahead of myself in this, mate. And look, even with Tim, if Tim has a pretty good performance against Joey Spencer, I just can people just reassure me they're not going to say, well, Timmy's back, look out Crawford, and look out Canelo, and look out Charlo, and look out everyone. Please, let's just relax, and let's just hope he gets through in one piece and just puts a semi-impressive performance together before we all start backslapping and saying that here comes Timmy again, because it's not going to happen. And I think I said on one of the episodes last week on Walking Boxing, I expect him to win. I expect him to still beat Keith Thurman, by the way. Then after that, then when he qualifies to get to the next level and maybe get another crack at the world level, that's great. Then it'll be all right. Well, he's got another chance. Let's see what he's got. But until he gets past Keith Thurman, not just beating Keith Thurman, it's the fight after Keith Thurman I'm most interested in, because I still expect him to beat Thurman. And as good as he looked last week, Keith Thurman, come on. He beat Brock Jarvis, an outclassed novice, basically. I know Brock's had 20-odd fights, but come on, look at his box rec. You know, no one of note except for Liam Paro, and that ended in the first round. So, yeah, I would like... Look, the Tim and Keith fight is going to be fascinating, because Tim's going to be coming off, a win over an okay fighter, but still just almost getting his legs steady again on his career. Thurman's done the same. So that matchup is going to be fascinating. And whoever wins that, I've got no doubt, will probably then get a world title shot after that against some of them, or one of the guys. But as I said, until Tim gets past Keith Thurman and gets an opportunity to resurrect his career, because even if he beats Thurman, the career's not resurrected in my eyes. It'll be have an opportunity to be resurrected by stepping up to the top level again, and then the rest is up to him. What do we got there? One more from Big J. All right, then we'll move on. All right, last one, Big J. Also, I was talking to the chump, that's Jay McAllister, the other day, and how come no one is discussing how fast 7+ dropped PBS? Good call, Big J. It's sad, but once Taylor Robinson got that draw, it was all over. Well, it was pretty much the beginning of the end, Big J. I don't think that was the end result. I've got a feeling that Angelo DiCarlo did a great job, and all concerned, by the way, did a great job of selling this to 7+, who thought, well, you know, maybe there's an opening for another sport on this different platform. We've got all these other things going on. Maybe, you know, Channel 7 used to be a mainstay for boxing back in the day. All the big fights used to be on Channel 7 before pay TV. So maybe they thought, well, okay, well, let's maybe wind the clock back and you know, we've got every other sport. Let's maybe have a look at boxing. And Angelo DiCarlo, a fantastic guy and a promotional firm, to go to 7+ and would have sold it beautifully. And he's got the record to back it up, and the backing and contacts and everything. So they've given it a go. I've just got a feeling as the year went on, the 7 executives would have thought, geez, this is costing a lot of money. Maybe viewership's not where we thought it would be. Maybe this boxing thing's just way too hard. So, yeah, we're not sure whether we'll continue next year. Then, of course, the whole DAZN, Foxtel things happen, and maybe Angelo has thought, well, maybe I've got an even better opportunity to further my fighters and the sport here in Australia. So I'm gonna swallow my ego. I'm gonna go and have a coffee with the boys from No Limit, and let's get this together. And maybe that was just made it easy for 7+ to drop it. Maybe it was a mutual decision where Angelo said, "Oh, look, maybe at the start it was purely just on a probationary basis. Maybe they said, look, let's give it a year. If we can see some growth in it, we can see some benefit for the channel. We don't have any dramas on the network." And I don't think they did, actually. I don't think there was any controversy or anything on. I thought all the cards were fantastic, if I'm being honest. But maybe it was just a probationary thing, and they just said, yeah, you know what, this is way too hard. And especially this year, they got the football. I think it's all changed with the football and all that as well, and maybe some other stuff they've got going on. But yeah, I think it might have been just the end of the year, Big J. They said, look, nah, this is way too hard. And fortunately, the DAZN Foxtel things happen, and Angelo's united with No Limit, and it's probably worked out for the best. Where is a super chat there? Where did I see it? Who's put in a super chat there? Have I missed it? It's Andy. Oh, there it is. I'm going to go right to the bottom of the contacts. How are you, Andy? Thanks for the $10, mate. Really appreciate it. There you go. Just saying to subscribe, share, and smash that like button, please, folks. Really appreciate that, Andy. It all helps, mate. So I hope you had a good weekend and your footy team won. All right, we'll go. I'm just going to go in order from now on because I think I've got to the end of it. All right, there's John Stanley in the chat. How are you, John? Welcome to the show. Sam Nixon, what do you got there, mate? Do you think Usyk will fight Parker next as the WBO has given him 30 days to sign a contract, or does he forfeit the belt and fight Daniel Dubois? Excellent question, Sam. I think... What do I think? Does he fight Parker for the WBO? Hang on. So what was... I think if he doesn't fight Parker, he'll be stripped. Is that the case? I think it is. If he doesn't fight Parker, which means Parker will then fight, obviously, somebody else, which would be... Let's have a quick look at the rankings. I just happen to have up. So it would be... Whoa, hang on. Hang on a sec. Justis Huni is the number one challenger of the WBO. When did that happen? So, and Moses Otama is number 2. So Justis Huni is the number one challenger for the WBO belt. So if Usyk says, I don't want to fight Parker, I want to go fight Daniel Dubois. Now, you got to remember, I think the only reason Usyk was open to fighting Daniel Dubois was to unify the belts again. So if he's going to fight Dubois, and it means he's going to lose the WBO belt, then surely he's got to sit back and go, you know what? I've already beat this guy. I stopped him last time. Why do I want to fight him again? Why not fight Joseph Parker and have a fresh challenge? These are the things coming. I know I haven't answered your question, by the way, Sam. I'm getting there. Yeah, well, there it is. So if Usyk says, no, I'm going to fight Dubois and get stripped, Joseph Parker will fight Justis Huni for the WBO belt, which would be fantastic for this part of the world. Maybe they could do it here in Australia. Makes perfect sense. Kiwi versus Aussie. Matchroom, let's go. But if he says, no, Daniel Dubois is the bigger fight. Dubois is coming off the win over Anthony Joshua. It is a lot bigger fight, more money, whatever. Let's forego the WBO belt. Let Parker and Justis Huni fight. Then Usyk then might fight the winner. So if Justis Huni could beat Joseph Parker, he could be fighting Alexander Usyk this time next year. That's just a bizarre situation. To answer your question though, Sam, I think I'm going to go with... I don't even know. I think he's going to fight Parker. I think he'll fight Parker. I think Turki El Sheikh, I'm hoping, sees or recognises fighters that have earned their shot. And I would think that more than anyone, he's seen Parker. He's had, 3 or 4 wins in a row against quality opposition. He will give Parker his shot. That's my gut feel, Sam, but your guess is as good as mine. I'm sort of hoping he forfeits the belt and fights Daniel Dubois anyway, and then we get Parker and Huni. How good would that be? Anyway. All right. Cal Jane. Sonny Bill and Paul Gallen going to fight. Waste of money, if you ask me. Well, I'm not a rugby league guy, Cal Jane, so it doesn't probably resonate with me as much as it probably does with a lot of you rugby league they're rugby league, aren't they? Yeah, rugby league. With a lot of you rugby league fans out there. So for me, it's definitely a waste of money. If you are a rugby league fan, what do you think? For me, I think it's a circus fight only because Sonny Bill Williams is involved. I don't think he's respected the sport of boxing. Paul Gallen has. Now, I don't know Paul Gallen. I don't know much about him. I know he's Cronulla champion, State of Origin champion. I don't really watch any rugby, even including the State of Origin, but I still remember Paul Gallen punching on with the Queenslanders, and I know he's arch enemy number 1 for the Queenslanders, and I like him. But the reason I like Paul Gallen is because he's always taken the sport of boxing seriously. He's always wanted to fight 3-minute rounds, 10-rounders, even a 12-round if it was available. Always wants to fight real fighter. This is the guy that fought Justice Honey, who's now the WBO #1 challenger. He fought Lucas Brown. Now, whatever you think of what happened in that fight, I think we're all just a little bit, ho-hum about what happened or suspicious. End of the day, Paul Gallen put up his hand and said, I'll give away about 8 inches and fight this guy, and probably about 30 kilos. I'll fight this guy. I take my hat off to Paul Gallen, and I respect him a lot because, as I said, he's respected our sport. Sonny Bill Williams, he's just in it for the coin, guys. He could not give a toss, and he got exactly what was coming to him when he thought he'd waited Mark Hunt out. And, and Paul Gallen beat Mark Hunt too, didn't he? I think from memory. So he's just going for these circus fights, all about the money, doesn't give a shit about the sport, doesn't give a shit about the fans out there. It's all just a money grab. And that's why I was sort of happy when he got knocked out by Mark Hunt. So as far as the fight goes, Cal, I didn't have any interest in it 2, 3, 4 years ago, whenever it was, and they were talking about it, and I certainly don't have any interest in it now, mate. But that's all because of Sonny Bill Williams, not Paul Gallen. And again, I think Paul made a fair bit of money out of boxing. I think he deserved it because he didn't shirk anyone, always up for it, and always came to fight. So I've got a lot of respect for Paul. What do you guys think? If you're a rugby league fan, what are your thoughts on it? All right, Polly the Farmer. I really hope Ball tries his garbage with the Munster. That's in a way. He might seem like a nice, polite guy, but he's a real Jekyll and Hyde. Seems to also have a low bar when tolerating disrespect. Yep. Wasn't that impressed by Ball, Polly. Again, I said on Walking Boxing this morning, it's hard to gauge because he hasn't really been in a scrap where he's had, I know not many people are like the Munster, but someone who's slick, who can punch, quick with his hands, quick with his feet. I've just got a feeling that Nick Ball is a little bit pedestrian, sort of a bit of a plotter, likes to let you sort of stop and sit on the ropes or in the corner. Then he likes to go to work. The problem with him is he totally telegraphs his punches, and with an elite fighter like Inoue, he'll just time those punches and catch him coming in. I can see Ball getting knocked out early by Inoue just because he's reckless and it telegraphs his punches. He's not overly fast either. It's not like he's going to be like bigger than the Munster. I know he's going to be a lot stockier, but he's not tall. I mean, Inoue is actually going to be taller than him. So I'm not a big one for that fight, Polly. I think I've made no secret that why go up to 126 when you can stay at 122, or better yet, go down to 118 and fight Nakatani or Rodriguez. They're the fights for me. I have no interest in him fighting Nick Ball. While those two fighters are there, why go up when you've got Nakatani and Rodriguez sitting right there? And MJ as well. He's got Cardenas in May. Got some big fights lined up. I just don't see Nick Ball as a big name. I really don't. I get it that maybe after he's finished with those guys, which might be a year and a half, even 2 years away, then maybe if Nick Ball's still around, okay, then go up and try and get that. Is it the 5th division or 4th division, whatever it might be, then go up. But for now, you've got some great fights around you. It'll be different if, say there was if Jesse Bam Rodriguez was at featherweight. That's a bit different. Go up by all means. But while those guys are still in those lower weights, why would you possibly consider going up when he's got the biggest fight in Japanese history just sitting there waiting for him? And God knows how much money will be involved in that. And then, as a side note, you've got Bam Rodriguez in probably, I think, the best pound-for-pound fight that can be made. So again, why go up to 126 and risk it when you don't have to? Especially against Nick Ball, who the average fight fan wouldn't have a clue who he is. Only the diehard. So anyway, we will see. Tony Clifton. Happy birthday, Lester. Okay, I didn't know it was Lester Ellis's birthday. Happy birthday to the Master Blaster. What do you got there, mate? Do you recall him fighting a kickboxer at Festival Hall, and the promoter at the time was Tarek Solak? Fella at work yacked about it today. Beats me. I know Tarek Solak, or knew Tarek Solak. He's passed away now. If you've ever been to one of his shows in the past, you'll know exactly what sort of character Tarek Solak was. I remember I was at Andrew Maloney's pro debut. It was at the Melbourne Pavilion. I think it was a last minute thing. It was a bit of a kickboxer show and a boxing show, and I think Billy Dibb might have fought the main event that night. I can't remember who it was against, but Andrew Maloney made his pro debut, so I was there. And I remember Tarek Solak got on the microphone mid-fight of one of the undercard fights and was yelling and screaming at someone that he wanted to come to ringside, one of his staff. And this is while the round's going on. I'm thinking, who the hell is this guy? But I've heard all sorts of stories about Tarek Solak. But having said that, he was one of the best kickboxing promoters and a little bit of boxing as well that we've had in Victoria. So, but to answer your question, mate, no, I don't remember that. I didn't really follow Lester when he was a kickboxer. I know he did it for a little while, didn't he? We have another super chat. Dennis Green, $5. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. Oh, here we go. It's got to be a footy question. Are we allowed to have super chats for a footy question? I'm not sure. I'll answer it anyway, mate. All right, what do we got? Hey, Lynden, still depressed over the Bombers' first up loss. Hoping the Blues kick Hawthorn's ass this week. Okay, well, that's more positive there, Dennis. I was expecting to cop it. I hate them even more than your mob, to be honest. Well, I'm not a fan of Hawthorn at all, mate. And you know my feelings of I actually thought the Bombers played pretty well the other night, if I'm being honest. I hate to say it, but they looked pretty good. A lot better than what we did. Let's hope the Blues get the job done over Hawthorn, mate. But I don't see it happening, unfortunately. Can't see it. All right, I'll keep going there. Sammy T, how are you, Sammy? I watched some of Perth boxer Matt Floyd's fights in Thailand. Man, the Thai opponents are woeful. They offer no resistance at all, and they're a mere punching bag until they collapse in complete surrender. Yeah, I don't like it, Sammy, and unfortunately, so was that in Thailand, was it? Okay, well, no, some fighters actually go over to Thailand almost as a working holiday sort of thing. They go over there and have a training camp and think, while we're there, we'll get a couple of wins. And you got to remember there's literally probably thousands of Thailand fighters over there, and they can just roll them in one after the other. And you can pretty much tailor-make the fights that you want to have. Do you want a short, stocky puncher? Do you want a tall, lanky boxer? Or do you want a bit of both? End of the day, it's pretty much you go there and you win. That's just the way it works. I don't like it. I think it gives Thailand fighters the wrong reputation. If you've ever seen Thailand fighters, the real fighters I'm talking about, in the Muay Thai fights, holy shit, they are some of the toughest fighters on the planet and would probably kick the shit out of someone like Matt Floyd in a proper fight if it was like under Muay Thai rules. I don't like it because when they come out to Australia, I think I mentioned this on Walking Boxing this morning as well, which is probably why Jordan hasn't been taken overly serious either. It's because they bring guys from Indonesia or Thailand or Fiji or wherever it might be out here, and they get pulverized, and then it's really hard to sell a legit fighter. I remember, what was it, on the Kambosos and Haney card, the second card, I remember Jason Maloney fought a Thai. And I remember people say, he's fighting a Thai. Well, mate, the guy was super tough and a very, very good fighter. I think the guy Sam Goodman might have been the same. So you get some good fighters, but unfortunately a lot of promoters just bring out these fighters and they're just literally cannon fodder. And they're lucky to even get paid for the fight. It's just criminal. It really is. And some promoters really prey on those type of guys. They bring them out and they'll have a whole card of Thais versus hometown fighters, and I hate it. I did my best when I was promoting to never have that situation. I did have a couple of fight cards where I had to get Thais in, but they were very, very last minute. It might have been injuries or whatever it might have been, and we had to get them. But I'll tell you what, I don't think I ever had a Thai that wasn't actually a really, really tough guy that did come out. I was lucky because I've seen them come out and think, oh my God, this is just embarrassing for this show. But anyway, but to answer your question there, Sammy, I haven't watched Matt Floyd's fights in Thailand. I've never heard of him. Sorry, mate. So, but yeah, not good, mate. No matter how it pans out. All right, Polly the Farmer. I've seen enough of 126. In my opinion, if Inoue chooses to clean it out, he will. I agree though that Nakatani is the best option. If Inoue stays away, I even think Fulton will go undisputed. Yeah, Fulton looked actually quite good in his last fight, didn't he? And look what look what Inoue did to him. Someone along the line though will beat Inoue. I guarantee it. Someone along the line, totally unexpected, will beat Inoue. It just happens that way. Not just in boxing, but all sports. Hey, look at my team on Thursday night. Was it 10-1 favourite or whatever it might have been, which I thought was actually quite short. Someone will beat him and it'll be unexpected. But I can't see who that's going to be at the moment, Polly. I think he's still got another couple of years before anyone's going to get near him, but someone eventually will. Let's just hope he has those fights with Nakatani and Rodriguez before that happens. All right, Sammy. All right. So Rafa was at his best when he fought Jeff Horn the first time, I believe. He will never surpass the domestic regional belt level. If he fights Nikita like he performed last week, he will be in trouble. Yeah, look, I did say last week, Sammy, I wasn't impressed at all with Michael's performance. I thought he really struggled. Look, Basir A was, oh my God, he was a very, very, very average fighter. I was so disappointed in what he bought. I watched a bit of him on YouTube, but it was really hard to get a gauge because the guys he was fighting were even worse than what he was. And I thought, oh, can he box? Can he punch? Doesn't look too bad. As soon as the bell rang against Michael, I thought, oh my God, this guy, Jesus. Well, Michael did what he had to do. He got him out of there. So good on Michael. He did it. He did what fighters like Michael against those types of guys should do, and he put him away. Some really good punches put him away as well. But up to that point, it wasn't a great fight, Sammy. I don't think Michael looked great at all. I don't think Tim or Nikita or Keith, whoever it might have been, would have been worried about that performance at all. And look, I'm with you there, Sammy. And I know I've gotten in hot water about this in the past with Michael and his supporters, but I'm only calling it the way I see it. I just think he's a very, very good regional fighter, and he's just one of those unlucky fighters that is too good for the domestic scene, but just not good enough for the international scene. He's just caught in limbo in between those two sort of demographics. We've seen it when we beat Jeff, beat Isaac Harbin, was probably his biggest domestic fight he's had for a while. And then he goes international and can't get the job done over there. So he's just one of those unlucky fighters. But look, I don't know. I don't know really what to make of last week, Sammy. I tend to agree with you. I just think he's a good domestic regional belt level, and that's just life. Nothing wrong with it, but that's just life. All right, Tom's dad Naz. I'm surprised George Rose has mentioned Thurman versus Tszyu after Tim making it obvious he's not looking past Spencer. Most questions directed at Tim in fight week will be about Thurman now. Yeah, I agree, Naz. And the Australian media, boxing media, this is not the social media guys I'm talking about either, by the way, guys. I'm talking about the ones in the mainstream boxing media. I'm talking about the Peter Bedell's. I'm talking about the Brendan Bradfords, those types of guys. In the old parlance, they say, wouldn't know a left hook from a fish hook. That's literally these guys. Someone in the editing office has said, there you go, you can have boxing, guys. No one else wants it. You guys can write about boxing. So you can see they just look at some sites and maybe watch a little bit of footage and make some assumptions, but they just skim the surface. There's no delving deep. And you're 100% right, mate. It'll be, and you can be guaranteed on main event, Ben Damon will ask the question. It'll be either Thurman or it'll be Zarafa. And that'll be used to spice up the event. Maybe George Rose will probably say it. I've got a feeling the other ones you won't hear say it will be Tim, Glenn Jennings. They'll be the ones saying, hey, we're not really talking about these guys now. But look, main event, they've got to sell the fight, don't they? I don't think there's going to be too much selling when there's Tim Tszyu involved, but they need to create the storyline for the next event. So I'm with you there, Naz. I've got no doubt that it will be all about, well, is Thurman next? Is Thurman next? Could it be Zarafa next? Yeah, just really great sometimes, Naz. All right, still with Naz. I love that the Cambosis card is free on DAZN. Prospects like Terramona, if he fights, he is fighting Naz. I think Eminem actually, he's probably even put it on in the meantime, but I haven't got it actually. Where is it? I'll put in George. He's fighting someone called Singh. Someone Singh. So he's going to be from India. I don't know many heavyweights from India that can fight Naz, so I'm not quite sure what we're going to get. But it doesn't matter. No matter who it is, it's going to be a first or second round knockout. I think that's obvious, isn't it? What's happened there? I must have spelled it. Oh, hang on. I've spelled his name wrong. Hang on. There it is. That should come up right. All right. So I'll have a quick look at the card, see if it's changed at all. I did check it this morning. No, it still hasn't been updated. But on the poster that Eminem sent me, it just said Singh. So it's going to be, I think it's an Indian. Yeah, it'll be an Indian. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there's not many Indian heavyweights out there doing big things at the moment. So yeah, I think we know the way it's going to go, but at least he's on the card. All right, so Karayev, get more eyes on them. Yep, this way, them putting them behind a $70 paywall. It's a catch-22 thing though, Naz, because I know we've talked about on here a lot of times. No Limit have to charge $70 to pay for the shows. I know I'm in the minority here, and I know based on a lot of the overseas pay-per-views that we get, $70 is way too much. But as a promoter, I can fully see why they need that $70 to pay for the events. You know, we're an afterthought to the overseas promotions, which is why most of the time it's so cheap. They just want a little bit of cream on top. This $70 here in Australia funds the entire show. So I get it that No Limit have to pay $70. And I don't reckon the fight cards, I reckon I'll backtrack. I think the fight cards at No Limit that they put on, they're a smaller sort of version of the Riyadh cards. They're stacked. They always have good fights. So, look, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't have a problem paying the $70 for No Limit on probably 95% of the shows. That Sam Goodman fight was the exception with Mark Schliebs. No way that should have been $70. That should have been what do they call it? A No Limit on Fox night. That's all it should have been. So, but the rest of them, like Nikita, the thing is, someone like Nikita, it maybe doesn't deserve to headline a $70 show. But they always put on really good undercards underneath guys like Nikita. So, look, I haven't got an issue with it. I know it's on the surface, $70. Like, why are we paying $70 for a No Limit show when we get an overseas fight from Riyadh for $30 or $40? I get it. But the Riyadh, season, they're making squillions of dollars from all these other sources. And they're like, what do we need to put it on in the Oceania region to get some half-decent numbers? $30 will do. They're not even worried about our money. It's probably just Turkey Al Sheikh's pocket money for the week that he chucks in his glove box when he's driving his car around. But here, No Limit need that $70 to pay for the fight. You know, if they get 10,000 views, like say for a Tim Tszyu fight or whatever, I don't know, that's $700,000. Tim and his opponents are getting paid millions. The money's got to come from somewhere. So I haven't really got an issue with it. But to answer your question there, DAZN's a completely different beast because it's a subscription-based thing and they have budgets worked out and everything that they put into these fights. So it's already paid for, so they don't need to charge for it. But I'm with you in principle. It's a good way to see the Kadaevs and Teramonas for free. I get it. Same as when Jai fought Niyika a couple of months ago. All right, what have we got there? OG Lights Out. Hey, mate, hope you're well. Thanks, mate. Hope you are too. I was wrong about Bashir A. Yes, was it you that kept saying to me, mate, he's going to beat Zarafa? What's that? It was going out. It was based on the fact that MZ is a very average boxer. Was hoping Bashir had some power, but unfortunately, he didn't have anything, OG. He had nothing. I can't believe that a lot of us fell for, including you by the looks of things, fell for Bashir A being a handy boxer, because as soon as that bell rung and he threw his first punch, I just went, oh my God. So, anyway. All right, Asbot. If Tim, what's that, g'day, lads? If Tim loses, safe to say it's more or less game over. Yeah, 100% it's over, Asbot. Yep. But did it ever really get going? Let's just say it is the case and Tim loses against Spencer, or even against Thurman. We expect him to get past Spencer. But if he loses against Thurman, let's just say, has his career really... I know it's a silly question because he had the WBO belt around his waist, but has his career really got off the ground? I mean, literally, when you think about it, it's a 12-month career when you look at it, if you really want to isolate it at the top level. I'm not counting... Actually, let's have a quick look at his record. And I'm certainly not going to lay into Tim here. I'm just analysing it and telling it the way it is. Let's have a quick look at his record. What sort of window has Tim had as far as being at the top of the tree? And again, I know he won that WBO vacant belt, by the way. Let's go back. Now, I'm going to go back to... I'm not going to go... Look, the Takeshi Inoue fight was probably built up to be a big test for Tim, but it wasn't. I mean, in hindsight, Inoue was a very, in my opinion, I thought he was an average fighter. Terrell Gausha was probably the first step up. So I'm looking at March 2022 as the time for me that Tim actually went to, I'm not going to say A level, I'm going to say maybe B minus level. And that's Terrell Gausha, maybe even C plus. But he went to that domestic level to the international level then. I'm not including Inoue, I'm not including Stevie Spark, Dennis Hogan, certainly not including Bowen Morgan. Jeff Horn, yeah, at the time, I mean, Jeff was pretty much done at that stage, and Tim did what he had to do. He totally towed up Jeff, and that was great. But for me, the Terrell Gaucher was his first example of dipping the toe in the water. So maybe going to the sea level shelf, let's call it, for Gaucher. Tony Harrison probably a C+. Harrison, of course, was a former world champion on the downside. So I think he's still at the C+ level then. Then he went to Carlos Ocampo, probably went back down to a C- level. But then he stepped up. Although Brian Mendoza, I know in hindsight he's had a couple of losses, but he was coming off that win over Fundora, a knockout win. So I think Tim went up to probably a B- level, I reckon, around that time. And then Sebastian Fundora probably went up to a B+ level with Fundora, and we saw how that ended. Hasn't won a fight since Mendoza, but I thought he went up to maybe B+ with Fundora. Stayed at B+ with Murtazaliev. Now with Joey Spencer's probably going back down to a C level. But if he gets past him, I would then see Keith Thurman as probably a B-ish. I'm going to say minus, but let's just say a B. And that's where he'll be after Thurman if he beats him. At B level. It hasn't even gone to A level yet. But that would be B level. So if he can't beat Spencer or Thurman as well, of course, the career's over, I think. I don't think the Australian public would probably give him another opportunity or another chance at being our superstar. You got to remember, too, a lot of people were talking about, a hell of a lot of people were talking about Tim being better than his father and surpassing the Jeff Fenix and Lionel Roses and Johnny Famechons of the world. I don't think he's even gotten past, say, a Lester Ellis, Barry Michael sort of stage or Jeff Harding stage. I think those champions have had the better career than Tim at this stage. So it's up to him. So if he can get past Spencer and then Thurman, well, then it just, for me, as I said earlier in the show, just gives him the opportunity to then go to that next level that we've all been expecting, because he hasn't been there yet. So it's not a matter of him getting back to that level. For me, he hasn't been at that level yet. He was on the fringes with the fights against Fundora and Murtazaliev, but unfortunately, I know the Fundora fight was extenuating circumstances, but the Murtazaliev was it with an exclamation mark about go back to the minors, because that's the sort of loss it was. Now, I said in one of the Walking Boxing episodes the other day that I'm not jumping on the Tszyu train until he gets past those two fights, because for me at this stage, is an unproven Aussie prospect. So I don't know how you guys and girls see it out there, but that's how I see Tszyu at the moment. An unproven Aussie prospect in the same category as probably another 6 or 7 fighters on the fringe of world title shots here in Australia. That's where he is. And that's just it. Now, I hope I'm wrong and he gets back, doesn't get back up there. He actually gets there in the first place, because for me, with all those massive shows we've had here and all the hoo-ha from the boxing media and all the the fans out there making him our boxing media darling, I mean, you've got to look at the facts. This is probably one area where I do agree with Michael Zarafa. We get, well, not me, but a lot of fans have just gotten way too overboard with Tim standing. Now, I don't want to be seen as someone that's trying to bring Tim down. I'm trying to lift him up, but I'm saying it the way it is, and that's one area I agree with Michael is let's just stop it. Let's just wait till he gets there, and then he'll get all the adulation in the world, from me included. But I just think, he hasn't been there, let alone getting back to there. So let's hope he can do it. Spencer's the first one, and then Thurman, if he beats Thurman, will be obviously the best one of his career. And then, then we can maybe start to get a little bit excited again and see where he goes. But anyway, that's my thoughts anyway. What have we got there? Oh, yeah, drunken boxing. Edgar got an absolute layup. It was more than that, mate. That Ortiz. And he was an Olympian, by the way. Can't believe that. Anyway. All right. Drew Keeley. How are you, Drew? Controversial take, but I'm kind of glad Brock Jarvis tested himself against Thurman rather than wasting more years against substandard opposition, given he has perceived limited ceiling. Limited ceiling. Anyway, mate, I'm with you. This is the thing with Brock Jarvis. Everyone's saying, see, I told you so, or told you he wasn't up to it, it was a step way too far and he just shouldn't have been in there. Well, geez, what are we doing it for? What's Brock Jarvis doing? He probably had the same point of view you just said there, Drew. I'm sick. I don't want to fight these lesser lights. No Limit were probably throwing all these imports at him that he'd bowl over, but I so respect Brock Jarvis for saying, you know what, I'm 27 years of age. I think I can take in. I'm gonna have a crack. How many fighters have we seen out there that they put the hand up about, so I can do this and I can do that, and I'm capable of this, but they don't do it. They fight all these lesser lights, and they try and, well, what do you call it? Con us into thinking that they're a good fight, and they just aren't. I really respect Brock Jarvis for saying, yeah, I think I can do it, and I'm going to take my opportunity. Yeah, it didn't work out. Okay, he got his ass handed to him, as Big J said. But if I was him, I'd get up the next day and go, you know what? I had a crack. Didn't get it done, but I'd rather do that than sit around in 10 years' time of beating all these less lights from overseas thinking, did I have what it takes to be at the level? Now, obviously, he's not at the level, but I don't think he got knocked around too much either, Drew. I know he got stopped in the end, but I don't think those punches are really going to, well, this fight anyway, I don't think they're going to be career hindering anyway, but I think it was just a stark reminder that, maybe he's got to stay at domestic level. But I just, look, it's the fighter's mentality too. A lot of fans out there won't get it, but the fighter's mentality is they like to test themselves, or the majority of them do. They want to get in there with the best and see whether they can mix it with the best. And unfortunately, it didn't happen for Brock this time, but hats off to him for at least having a go. What do we got there? Fur Yan Survivor. How are you there, mate? Love the show. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Do you think Brock Jarvis has a future beyond domestic level? No, I don't, mate. I don't. Unfortunately. I know I'm being blunt, but that's the way it is. Ali Ugas, I think it is. Kambosos fight up in the air following Jordan pulling out. Looks like George will pick an easier fight instead of Hang on. I only checked the social media before I come on. You're not telling porkies there, are you? Hang on. There's nothing on Australian Boxing Central, Ali, and they are the leader of content on here. There's nothing on here. No, come on. Hang on, we'll keep. What's that there? Hang on, Jay. Can you believe Jordan is out of the Kambosos fight? Jake Wiley apparently stepping in, but unconfirmed. Geez, that's why I've got to move on with these comments even quicker. Hang on. There's been where's all this coming from, guys? I check all the sites and I've seen nothing. Geez, it'd be interesting if that is the case, he does pull out, because what was only about 3 days ago, he was on social media. They wheeled him out to do a little thing on social media. Hang on, I'm going to go to there's nothing online at the moment. Well, if that's the case, that is massive. What does George Kambosos do? He's hard enough selling Jordan. How does he sell Jake Wiley, who I think is also scheduled to fight? Is it Joel Taylor? So he'd be training. Hang on, let's have a look. Jake Wiley's supposed to be fighting. No, it's not coming up. Hang on, must have spelled his name wrong. Whatever. Wow, that is amazing. All right, I'll go a little bit quicker so I can get to these comments, because no doubt everyone's talking about it. I'm getting the youngest into boxing. He's 10. Has his first meet and greet tomorrow. Hopefully he sticks it out for a while. Yeah, the main thing, OG, mate, make sure he enjoys it, mate. Don't put too much pressure on him. Don't try and get him to be Floyd Mayweather straight up with his pad work and stuff. Just let him enjoy the sport, mate. Getting into it, and take it easy. And it's all about enjoyment in that first part of the sport. It's all about the fundamentals, OG. I think I said on here a couple of weeks ago, just drill into him. Hands up, chin down, elbows in. The 3 big things for starters. No matter what stage is at, hands up, chin down, elbows in, and he'll be fine. All right. Double G. I stand corrected from last week. I saw a video of Dana holding Turkey's hand. It's all over. Take me back to the 80s. Maybe seeing Kappa and Jacko in the countdown top 10 wasn't that bad after all. Yeah, I'm with the Double G. Take me back to the 80s any day, mate. Any day. Cal says, think Tim gets Fundora if he beats Spencer and Fundora wins. Yeah, I don't think so straight up, Cal. I think it'll definitely be Thurman. That's the fight. They wouldn't have brought Keith Thurman out here if they didn't intend for him to fight Tim next. So that will be next. And, hey, they've got the wish. We're all talking about it now. So much to Tim's probably disgust, everyone's talking about Thurman now, and that's what you get when you have an impressive knockout, isn't it? So, yeah, it'll be Thurman, mate. It'll be Thurman. Hanoi Tripper. Tim won't have an easy night versus Thurman. No, he won't, Hanoi. No. And again, we don't know what we're getting with Tim. Whether he's going to be razor sharp or a little bit timid, we don't know. I still think he beats Spencer pretty easily. But for me, even if he does beat him easily, it still doesn't answer a lot of questions for me with Tim. I want to see him fight Keith Thurman. If Thurman maybe continues on, stays in shape, stays in the gym, if he can beat Keith Thurman, then I will say, okay, well, Tim's ready to go back and have another crack. All right, Young Guns, how are you there, mate? Inaway's giving us another trash fight. Neary, Donahy, Kim, Yay, and now Cardenas. Very, very mediocre stuff. Bud fights once a year. Madrimov was beaten by Virgil. Much better. Bivol deserves to be pound for pound number 2. Yeah, not a bad call, Young Guns. I would even think that Canelo would be up there as well. But, yeah, look, at least he's active, Young Guns. I just think that even though we mightn't like the opponents in a way he's fighting for now, he's fighting often, and he's given us the blueprint of what he's going to do going forward. We know he's scheduled for the rest of the year, and I think he said from next year's when they'll target maybe Nakatani and possibly Rodriguez as well. So, yeah, but you got to remember too, Inouye's not probably the one that's deciding who he's fighting. He just trains and fronts up. It's his team, and now it's going to be His Excellency, if you want to call him that, Turki Al Sheikh. So, yeah, I don't know, mate. As I said, I don't mind it if he's fighting regularly. At some stage, he'll fight a good fighter. Yeah, Cal. Yeah, congratulations to Nikita on getting married. Yep. All right, Drunken Boxing. I was about to ask what you think is a good age to get kids into boxing. My son is 8. Perfect age, Drunken Boxing. 8 years old, it's great. Just maybe no contact for the first couple of years, mate. Just the basics. I wouldn't even stress too much about any sparring at all until they're about 11 or 12. That's just my opinion. They can do partner work, almost if you're shadow boxing with an opponent. And that way you get used to someone that's in front of you, sort of throwing punches at you, but without the contact. Because, if they start getting smacked in the head at a young age, they can get gun shy. So I do a lot of partner shadow boxing, and just as much time on skill as possible, mate. I said a couple of weeks ago, footwork. Every single session, all about footwork, and then focus. I'm sure that you got a trainer involved, of course. It's just my advice: footwork, and then just the basics. Concentrating on a straight jab and a straight right for probably the first year and a half. That's all I'd be worried about. Don't worry about uppercuts and hooks. Do it almost year by year at that age. Maybe jab and a straight right for the first year. Then you can maybe introduce maybe the uppercuts for the next 6 months and the hooks for the next 6 months, and then start to put them together after that. But footwork. That's my advice. And as I said, no contact, at least until he's about 11. All right, Liberty Ranger. Just started taking up MMA classes. Any advice on the boxing side of things? Basic fundamentals, patience, etc. I'm glad you asked that, Liberty Ranger, because I've said on here many, many times that people don't, or MMA fighters don't rate boxing enough. And that's probably my first bit of advice to you, mate. Don't sleep on the boxing element, because the MMA guys who've probably never done boxing will say, it's only your hands. Anyone can use your hands. No, not everyone can use your hands. So my advice would be definitely the footwork again, and the balance. The footwork's just forward, back, left and right, up and down, back and forth, forward, back, left and right, with your footwork. Get a boxing trainer involved, though, that actually knows footwork, okay? You don't just want to be doing footwork and you're doing it wrong. Have someone show you properly. It's all about the balance, mate. Because even with the MMA stuff, they get hold of you, they've still got to be able to take you down. And if you've got good balance and good footwork, it's a lot harder for them to get you and take you down. If your footwork's sloppy and all over the place, bang, you're down in 2 seconds. That's probably always been my argument when people said, good MMA fight. All you've got to do is get hold of a boxer and it's all over. I beg to differ. Okay, especially if they've got good footwork and good balance. Very hard to get them down. Same as if you take on a good wrestler. I'm not a WWE type, but a good actual wrestler. Because they've got that really good core strength and footwork and balance. Try and get them down. It's almost impossible. if you're not another wrestler. So that'd be my advice there, mate. And the hands, just again straight punches. Don't worry about uppercuts and hooks. Straight punches down the middle, mate, and keep that chin down. All right. Asbot. Brock Thurman was a massive mismatch. I don't reckon it proves too much about where Thurman's at with a live dog in the next fight. Yeah, jury's well and truly out, Asbot. Just a glorified sparring session, I thought. My thoughts on Thurman didn't change. I was just glad to see him get through unscathed, Asbot. That's all I was worried about. And I think the Tim fight's going to be fascinating, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Tim comes through his fight and how it looks once he gets through that one. All right, Drew, honestly think Thurman-Tszyu fight is a 50-50 affair, given a potential confidence hit from Tszyu and Thurman's twilight. For the record, prime I have Thurman by clear decision. Well, I think everyone's view on Tim has changed based on his last couple of fights, Drew. I'm just hoping we see a little bit of the Tszyu from a couple of years ago, against Spencer, and then we can maybe start to get excited again. Young Guns, is it true Belunga's opponent did a 10-year prison sentence, came out and got a Belunga fight? No, it's not true, Young Guns. Yes, he was in prison, but he did have, I think, 2 fights. Hang on, I'm on BoxRec at the moment, and I think he'd had 2 fights leading up to this one, but he'd been out of the ring for 10 years. Hang on. Edgar, can you believe he calls himself the chosen one? Come on, mate. All right, so Jonathan Gonzalez Ortiz. So he went into the fight with a 20-1 record. So he beat an opponent back in June last year, and he also had one in March last year. Before that, it had been 10 years since he'd had a fight. So, yeah, this was his 3rd fight. So, no, he didn't get it straight out of prison. Still with Young Guns, Keith Thurman will box the nips off Tim Tszyu. Well, we'll see. Let's hope anyway. Johnny Ringo says, I agree. I thought Keith would win, but not necessarily annihilate Brock. Sorry. I like that. Young Gun. One time in no time. Ali Ugaz. Brock got hit and couldn't come back up. Andrei Mikhailovich was still able to continue through the punishment and push along. Same with Yui Dib during the second Wilson fight. Yeah, look, I was actually impressed with Andrei Mikhailovich's toughness, Ali, because he had no right to get up after that knockdown in the second round. No, having said that, if I'll call him Janabek. Alan Canul is his last name. I'll call him Janabek. If Janabek had have gone after Andrei Mikhailovich the way Thurman went after Brock, it would have been all over in the second round. Although I think it was on the bell, so it would have been the 3rd round as well. The only reason Mikhailovich survived as long as he did is because Janabek just went through the motions and wanted to get a few rounds under his belt. So that's probably a little bit different there. And with Yui Dib and Wilson, while, as I say, mate, levels was a massive factor in that. Wilson and Dib were very evenly matched. Wilson obviously the better fighter, but Dib was a lot closer to Wilson than Jarvis was to Thurman. So that's probably why he was able to come back a little bit better as well. Double G. I thought Tim's new Mr. Humble mask slipped a little. A video of Tim on the night after the fight saying something about appetizer. I think Thurman has too many angles and savvy for Tim anyway. Yeah, I've had a few people mention that, Double G, that Tim just let his mask slip a little bit, as you said there. So, look, to be fair to Tim, though, I mean, you get someone like Thurman in your face, what are you going to do? You got to respond. I don't know I didn't see the appetizer comment, but you got to respond in some way. So I haven't really got a problem with that. Still with Jules, fair play to Keith. He did exactly what he said he would. I enjoyed all his work in the promotion, but geez, Brock looked very chinny. I loved Keith in the lead up, Jules. I really loved the fact, and it's a credit to No Limit for getting him out here to give us a look at the Thurman show. I mean, for a lot of fight fans that don't get to go over to the States or maybe England or wherever it might be and see a lot of these really top elite guys at work, not just in the ring, but, in the press conferences and just the interviews they do and just around the hotel. I mean, I just thought it was fantastic for Keith to come out and bring the Keith Thurman show with him. I thought it was awesome. And I'm glad a lot of the fight fans up there, got to meet him and, get their photos and that with him and just see a little bit of that big time American boxing here in Australia. Yes, drunken boxing. It was a thing of beauty, that combination, for sure. Drew, the casual boxing media will once again hype up Tszyu like an Ali KO win versus Foreman if you beat Spencer. I agree, Drew. If they knew the game better, they would pump the brakes, but unfortunately they don't. No, they won't. Look, at the end of the day, though, Drew, I do get stuck into the boxing media here a little bit, the mainstream boxing media, but they've got a job to do. The job, when you think about it, is to actually pump up these events and get people to buy their content. So I sort of get it. But on the other hand, I seriously think they have just delusional views of someone like Tszyu. And even with what happened last year, they still haven't learnt. And I've said a few times, I'm really happy that Tim and his team have just taken a step back and said, no, you know what, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just be realistic and just focus and forget all that talk about everything else that's going on. But unfortunately, the boxing media here haven't. And I got a feeling Team Tszyu would have to be a bit pissed on constantly being asked either about Thurman or Zarafa. And I would almost like to see Tim sort of snap and say, well, look, for Christ's sake, will you stop talking about that? What do we got there? What's a super sticker? What's that? Hang on. $2.99 from Young Guns. Thanks very much, mate. A thumbs up hand just... Oh, okay, we're top. Thanks very much, mate. I don't know what a super sticker is, but I appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. All right. What do we got? I'll get back to... If I can find it here. No, I haven't found it yet. Almost there. So that's the problem when I go to the bottom of the comments. I've got to go back. I think... yep, Young Guns. Joseph Parker is mandated next for Usyk. Yep, he is. Let's see if it comes off. Did you catch the Nick Ball fight? If so, thoughts? Wasn't impressed. Drunken boxing. I know it was hard because TJ Downey didn't really, in my opinion, didn't really engage a lot. He was very sort of standoffish, tried to box from a distance, didn't engage with Nick Ball. So it was tough. It was a tough fight for Nick, and he got the job done. He did exactly what he had to do. But as I said earlier, I'm just not quite sure he's got what it takes to beat Naoya in a way. I mean, you're always in with a chance, aren't you? But I wasn't impressed at all. Hang on, we've got a new super chat there. What do we got? OG lights out, $2.99. Thank you very much, mate. What do you got there? I really hope Nikita fights in Cairns. Can't wait. That's what they're talking about, OG. They're looking at, what did I say, June the 11th, I think it is. So that will be Liam Paro in Cairns. I think I've heard that's the show they're looking towards. I mean, in probably in a perfect world, they would probably want Nikita to headline his own show. But maybe what they're looking at is say, oh, this might be an opportunity now. Now we've got some other, very, very good fighters, world-level fighters like Liam Paro in a stable. Maybe we'll just be able to take the pressure off Nikita a little bit and let him fight on an undercard as the co-feature and try and get him a fight so the attention's all not on him and let him develop as a fighter. You've got to remember, Nikita's pretty much been a pay-per-view fighter since his second or third fight. I think. Maybe third. No, it'd have to be around the second or third fights, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. But a very early stage of his career, it's been pay-per-view. So a lot of pressure on Nikita. And he's copped a lot of criticism because he hasn't, been a superstar straight off the bat. So I don't mind if it is the plan for Liam Paro to take the main event status and just have the co-main as Nikita. So that might be what they're looking for, OG. But if you're up that way, what a fight it would be to get to a card, those two as a double header would be fantastic. All right. Sorry, I'll get back to... All right. With Drew Keeley. Brock versus Nikita might be an interesting next fight. Despite the big Tszyu name, I just see Nikita's defense as being heavily flawed and very leaky. Call me crazy, but I think it's a competitive fight. I do too, Drew. I think it's a very competitive fight. Look, I don't think it'll be next though, Drew. That's the only thing. I think it'll be very, very hard. Even though it was Keith Thurman, I think it'll be very hard to sell Nikita versus Brock next. Maybe they might put Brock on the undercard of that fight in June. What is it now, March? It's about 3 months away, so it makes sense. Get Brock in there, get him just a tomato can, as they say. Put Nikita on there. If Brock looks good in that fight, maybe they could pump up Brock versus Nikita. Would make sense. And I'm with you, mate. I think it'd be a great fight. A very, very good fight, I think. So, but I also agree there. At the moment, Nikita's defense is heavily forward and very leaky, yeah. It is. And that's what they need to work on. The biggest thing I think they need to work on with Nikita is if he's under pressure or gassed or hurt, he needs to be able to learn to chuck out the ego and do what's right. And that is to clinch, to hold, to move, to try and get his composure back. But that's been my biggest flaw with him so far. I mean, everyone can get hit. I know Nikita has shown a tendency to get hit, but it's what happens after that that's the concern for me. Good fighters can get hit, they can get hurt, but the defensiveness sort of comes to the fore, and they, as I said, they clinch, hold, move, whatever it might be. Nikita tries to fight his way out of it, and if he does that against a world level fighter, it's all over. It's curtains. Simple as that. Cole Mazzutia and Danilo Creati and Brubaker and Ben Horn, none of them are world class fighters, and all of them nearly got Nikita out of there, and that's a massive worry. So I think there's no reason for me why they wait 4 or 5 fights and try and work on a few things, and that is one of them. He needs to be able to learn how to react when he's under pressure or gassed or hurt. And at the moment, it's just, all right, well, I suppose the only thing I can do is bite down on my mouth guard and try and fight back harder. You get a good fighter with world level with good IQ, they're going to just time him, and that's all she wrote, unfortunately. Young Guns, do you agree with the Tank Roach ruling? I think it sets for a bad precedence with the grey area when it comes to referee discretion. Personally, I'd take 1 point for the knee and suspend ref for 6 months. Yeah, look, I do agree, Young Guns, that the referee should probably have some sanctions. When it first happened, I must admit, I was a bit, well, we don't know the whole story of, does he have to call it a knockdown? Does he have to take a point away or maybe potentially disqualify the corner for getting up on the ring apron? And by all reports, yes, he should have. So yes, I think if it is to the letter of the law or the rules and regulations, if the referee's done the wrong thing, well, of course he should be suspended. Of course he should. Look, I don't agree with all the legal stuff, and like you said, they're taking the point. Look, the referee stuffed up. For my opinion is, what happens in the fight stays in the fight. If the referee stuffed up, well, that's just bad luck. It's bad luck on the fighters. I feel for Roach, I really do. I thought it was a draw anyway, so I'm not that fussed with the result. But how many times have we watched a football game or a soccer game or whatever game it might be, and the referee's made some bad calls? It's actually determined the result. And that's just life. It is what it is. So we, as pissed off as we are, and we see all the replays, and yes, it was a touchdown, or yes, it was a goal, or yes, it was a 3-point or whatever hell it is, but the referee or umpire stuffed it up, we have to wear it. So in this instance here, I feel for Roach, but the referee, while he should be sanctioned and suspended and whatever else comes of him, I still think his actions on the day or night should be held as they are, and there should be no more repercussions. He stuffed up. It is what it is. Let's just get on with it. And yes, it should have been called a knockdown, or not. Actually, it shouldn't have been called a knockdown because it wasn't a knockdown, but it should have been a point off because he took a knee. So it wasn't a knockdown, but you cannot take a knee mid-round and not have any consequences. So yes, while it wasn't a knockdown, it was taking a knee, and that is 1 point. The corner coming up on the apron, well, that could have been another point or possible disqualifications. But the referee dropped the ball big time. And yes, he should be suspended. But as I said, no, I don't think it should affect the result. Order the rematch. Whoever the powers are, or the powers that be, order the rematch, and let's just get on with it. Because as I said, any other sport, any other weekend, how many howlers are made by referees or umpires, and it's just stiff. That's just the way it is, and we move on, and the result is a result. I know some people will differ in the opinion, but that's just the way I see it. All right, Jules, Brock's approach was naive, untested at the weight, took a gamble on Thurman, and to go into the fight with no trainer. Best laid plans, but the boxing business is a monster. Yeah, certainly is, mate. Yeah, he wasn't untested at the weight. He had fought Rodriguez, but not really a test, is it? But he had fought at the weight before. The gamble on Thurman, I'm not, again, mate, I haven't got a problem with it. I really don't. But to go in there with no trainer, yeah, if it wasn't going to be Jeff Fennick, it should have been someone. He had plenty of time to get somebody. And to go in there with a rugby player, his dad, and his brother, what were you thinking? That is just ridiculous. Look, I don't think it would have mattered whether he had Robert Garcia and Freddie Roach in the corner with him. He was getting knocked out. But still, you got to give yourself the absolute best opportunity to win, and he didn't do it. So, but I'll say it again. I haven't got an issue with him at all for taking the gamble on Thurman. You got to remember, 27 years of age. You haven't got a big lifespan in this sport. And the money, I'm sure he would have been well compensated. So is he going to take a risk and get a big payday? And who knows what could have happened after that? He could have been sharing the ring with Tszyu. Who knows? And getting paid $1 million for the privilege. Or he could have been fighting for $20,000 against some Fijian import. I welcome it. I really do. And it didn't end well for him, but so be it. You live it to fight another day. All right, OG. I actually think Thurman gives Tim trouble just on boxing IQ and Tim's terrible defence. Yeah, well, I think it was exposed a little bit, wasn't it? The thing is with Tim's defence, OG, you watch a lot of his earlier fights. Now, I know the level of opposition was a lot lower than what it currently is or has been. But you watch Tim when he fought the likes of Jeff Horn, when he really took his time. Even with, I know, again, the opposition's not what it is now, the Stevie Sparks, Dennis Hogan's, but he really took his time and dismantled those fighters just bit by bit. And I've just got the feeling maybe, again, that's all the pressure on him, all the people patting him on the back and writing the great stories and saying how great he is. Maybe he just forgot about the basics. As Mickey says in Rocky 3, he becomes civilized. He wasn't hungry anymore, become civilized, forgot what got him there, and just thought he'd go out and march through these guys, and he learnt the hard way. So I'd like to see him get back to, with Joey Spencer, take his time and just break him down round by round. If he does that, we might have the possibility of him getting back to where he was a couple of years ago. But if he just expects to go out there and wipe Joey Spencer out, I'll be disappointed, because that means he's learnt nothing. So let's just hope if he's stuck with his trainer, his Uncle Igor, if he's made the decision to stay with him, then I would expect that we see some improvements in that area. Because if he doesn't, what's the use of staying with his current team? As they say, it was a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over. Well, if you're not getting anything different out of your team, why stay with them, even if they are family? It's a business, remember. And we've seen it in the past. A lot of fighters have made some very, very harsh or difficult decisions in getting rid of their trainers or managers or whatever it might be, because it's for the betterment of their career. Now, if Tim's made that decision to stay with his team, I want to see some improvement inside the ring and Tim to be a lot more patient than he has been. All right, Mark Jones, upstate New York, listening. Well, welcome to the show, Mark. Great to have you along, mate. Yeah, the Big Apple is in the house. That's great to have you along, mate. I know it's mainly talking Aussie boxing here, but if you've got something you want to contribute, mate, put it in the chat and let us know what you're thinking. Young Guns. Dana White tells ESPN there's going to be one belt per weight class with TKO boxing along with the basic weight classes that started everything rather than 17 or 18. Does this excite you? The premise of the whole thing excites me, Young Guns. I don't mind the whole 8 divisions again. I love it. I don't mind it. Pros and cons for both sides. You've got the pros in that, hey, we're back to the traditional weight divisions, the way it should be, and we're going to have just 8 champions, and that's the way it should be. Then on the other flip side, what about all those fighters that just struggle to make those traditional classes? They've got to then go up to the full next weight class where they might be oversized, or they kill themselves to get even lower, and they put themselves at risk. I don't know. But look, it does excite me, Young Guns. The whole thing excites me, but I'm still perplexed how it's going to work. How the hell do they make it work? How do they work in with the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO if they're only interested in their own belt? One belt per division in an 8-division thing. So 8-division league. So I'm sure they've got it worked out. But if Dana White and Turki El Sheikh just thinks it's going to be a matter of just starting this boxing league, and because it's Dana White and what he's done with the UFC, that he's just going to automatically attract all the best fighters in the world, and they're going to happily fight for one belt, and all the promoters are going to just roll over and say, oh, well, I suppose it's Dana White and Turki El Sheikh, what are we going to do? We'll just throw the hands in the air and walk away. They've got another thing coming. It's not going to happen. If they think the other promoters are just going to turn up and roll over and not fight back, as much as they're flawed and, they cop a bit from fans, Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum and Frank Warren to a certain extent. They're all hard bastards that have been around for a long time, very, very competitive, and not just going to roll over as much as they've done with Turkey Al-Sheikh in the last couple of years. Eddie and Oscar, to some extent, I know he hasn't had his full say yet, have both pretty much said, oh, well, business goes on. Top Rank will continue on. I know they're not the top rank of old, but they'll continue on. They'll get a new lease of life. Maybe when Bob Arum passes away, I hope it's, a little while down the track. But when he passes away, maybe when a new CEO or whatever it is, president, whatever they are of Top Rank comes in, and maybe they'll reinvent it and maybe they'll go again. Frank Warren's going nowhere. Eddie Hearn seems almost excited by the prospect of going up against Dana White. Oscar, hey, this guy's an Olympic gold medalist and how many division world champion? And a warrior. He's not just going to roll over and hand his business to these guys. That's why I just don't think it works. This is what I'm saying. If Dana White, Turkey Al-Sheikh's obviously entrusted Dana White with this because, of course, on paper it looks like he's the best man for the job. Look what he's done with the UFC. But the UFC started from the ground up with no fighters, no competition. Boxing is an established business/sport. It's been around for 100 and something years. It's established, and it might be flawed. There might be a lot of things wrong with it, but it's established and it's here to stay. And I can tell you, Dana White and even Turkey Al-Sheikh, with as much as they want to throw around, and how much Dana White continues to tell us about all his achievements in the UFC, I still don't think it means anything. And I've got my gut feeling is, and my belief, if Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum and Frank Warren, even if they work together or they don't, if they all dig in their heels and fight back against this will not work. It won't work. I back those promoters every day of the week over someone like Dana White, who's pretty much has had his own way for however long with the UFC. I want to see what happens when he can't get his hands on those gunfighters, because they go, yeah, well, and Turkey Al-Sheikh might be throwing all the money around, but how long is Turkey Al-Sheikh going to be able to throw all that money around? And Eddie and Oscar might have and Bob and Frank might have other ways of earning money themselves, so they keep their good fighters. I must admit, if I was a young fighter coming through and this was there, but I had Eddie Hearn or Oscar De La Hoya waiting in the wings offering me a contract as well, I'd still go with them. They're proven guys. I know they'll get a lot of young kids who don't maybe have good representation and maybe have no other prospects. They'll join. But if I'm a gunfighter coming out of the Olympic Games and I've got, say, Eddie Hearn sitting there with a contract and I've got Dana White with a contract, I know who I'm going with. I'm going with Eddie Hearn, the proven article. So it'll all be revealed at some stage, though, young guns. Geez, how far am I behind here? Sorry, guys. I'll get moving. All right. Really thought Curtis Scott would have come up with a perfect game plan to take down Thurman. Yeah, so did I, Nuz. Yep, I had full faith in Curtis Scott. What's he been in sport about a year and a half now? Oh, just a veteran, isn't he? Yeah, Parker Hooney, drunken boxing. Young Guns, I think Moses Otama puts Justice Hooney to sleep. Yeah, I don't know, Young Guns. I want to see Moses Otama in with a live body. And Justice Hooney's a good fighter. I'm backing our man, Justice Hooney. I really am. I think Moses Otama looks great at the moment, but Justice Hooney, great. He's got great movement, great footwork. He can put his punches together very, very well. I'm still backing Justice Hooney to win that fight, Young Guns. I know Otama has looked great so far, but again, how many fighters have looked great against nobodies? Justice Hooney is a very talented fighter, and I'm backing our man, Justice Hooney, to beat Moses Otama. Geez, here I can just feel the wrath coming through the screen from some boxing fans out there. Nectar of the Gods. I think Jai Patai beat 20 quite easily. I don't think we'll ever have to worry about that Nectar of the Gods. I don't think they'll ever fight, mate. Good friends, same stable. Well, look, you never know, I suppose, but I strongly doubt it. Ryan Gray. I think Usyk wants to shut the noise down about the body shot. Was it legal or wasn't it legal? I think he just wants to take any doubt out of it, even though he stopped him. Hope it's Parker. I hope it's Parker too, Ryan. Andy, I got, I got Paul Gallen over Sonny Bill Williams, to be honest. Gallen has shown more. Neither has achieved anything close to mundane, but good luck to him, yeah. I'll be hoping Paul Gallen wins, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that maybe Sonny Bill Williams, being a lot younger and fresher maybe, but I'll be definitely going for Paul Gallen. Drunken Boxing, he agrees. He wasn't impressed with Ball. Para Eel support. That's Parramatta, isn't it? Parramatta Eels. That's a pretty interesting nickname, isn't it? Or a logo or whatever it is, a mascot, an eel. Although here in the AFL, I suppose we can't talk. We've got Cats. What a silly name. A great team, by the way. But the Cats. Not the Tigers or the Lions, just the Cats. And then we've got the Swans, probably the most timid nickname of all time, probably apart from the Cats. The Swans. We've got some really weird nicknames in the AFL. Can you believe that? The Swans. We have got a super chat, though. That is my man, D-Style. How are you, D-Style? $2. Thank you very much, mate. Hit the like. Thank you. Really appreciate it, mate. And really appreciate you being on there, mate. And if you haven't followed D-Style, make sure you go to it after this show and follow it straight away. All right. Hang on, I'll get to you in a minute, Ali. Hanoi first. Gal wanted it for years, but Sonny Bill Williams avoided him, and he predicted he will call him out when he's too old. Well, that's what he's done. Ali disagrees. With respect, I differ on your Sonny Bill Williams view. He was the person that was able to get Stan Sport to cover boxing and provided a platform for boxers on the undercard as a result. Yeah, and it's a good call, Ali. Look, no dramas. Respectfully disagreeing. That's cool, mate. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. He got Stan Sport involved, but how involved are they? I mean, Austin Acusio went to them as well. He looks like he's gone back to No Limit or will go back. He was at their launch this year. I'm not sure the Stan Sport thing has worked. I get what you're saying there. He got Stan Sport involved, got a few boxes on the undercard, but geez, the events themselves have been a bit ordinary, Ali. But having said that, you're right. He did get some young boxers on there. I must admit, I didn't see the cards. Too many streaming services for me at the moment. I didn't watch it, but yeah, that's okay, mate. That's your opinion. That is cool. All right, Andy. Ball needs to focus on unifying 126, but maybe it's because Naoya in a way might be the biggest payday. Naoya versus Nakatani or MJ more appealing to me, to be honest. Yeah, well, it's easily in a way Nakatani, Andy, for me too. I just think that is the biggest fight. I mean, just imagine being in Japan for that fight. It would be awesome. It would be fantastic. But that, for me, is a way bigger fight, and that should be his priority at the moment. It should be almost a bit of a timeline between the two now. Almost, and maybe it's already happening. The two promoters together, unless they're with the same promotional guys, I'm not sure. But to be almost looking at this is a timeline. Inoue's going to fight here and Nakatani there, and then we're going to fight here. This is the date we're looking at next year, and start the build up now. Start just putting some little feelers out there and teasing the fight's going to happen, and let's get it rolling. Who would have thought that a Japanese fight, an all-Japanese fight, would be one of the most anticipated fights out there? I'm with you, Ali. Yep, RIP Tariq. Combat sports have gone backwards since. Yeah, I wouldn't say they've gone backwards, but I get it. He was a real pioneer, was Tariq. He was an interesting man. Shadow Boxer, what's your favourite style of fighting? For example, Cuban style, slick American style, Soviet style. PS, still waiting on your training tips. I was only joking about that, Shadow Boxer, but I'm happy to do something, mate. Favourite fighting style? I've still got to go with the Mexican style, Shadow Boxer. I don't like the American style. If the style you're talking about is Mayweather, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, that type of style, then no, I don't like that style at all. If it's the Ray Boom Boom Mancini style or Vinny Pazienza style, hey, I love that style, but I'm assuming with the slick American style, that's what you're talking about. I don't like that. The Soviet style, I'm not a big fan of that either. That's probably the most effective style out of all of them, but I'm not a fan of it. I like the Mexican style. I still like that walk up, going through the gears, ripping, hooking to the body. I love the Mexican style, but the old style American style. Like I said, the Vinny Pazienza style. Even when you talk about slick, even going back to the Hagler, Hearns, Leonard style. I know they're all different in their own ways. I mean, Hagler was a sort of boxer puncher. Actually, Hearns was a bit of a boxer puncher. Leonard definitely a boxer. But I just miss those fighters. And even the hybrid Mexican-American style, the De La Hoya type of thing. I mean, but I suppose if I had to pick one, Shadow Boxer, sorry, I'm got about half an hour to go and I'm about an hour behind. But if I had to pick one, I like the Mexican style, mate. Who is the flying doormat? If you're a fair dinkum blue banker, you should know. That's obviously Bruce Dool, Tony, 100%. What a man he was. Did you see the Ben Eubank interview with Piers Morgan? I did, Dennis. Yep, or most of it anyway. About 45 minutes of it. Eubank kept bringing up Connor's failed test, but the guy was cleared. Thoughts? Yeah, look, and Eubank was desperately trying to deflect the comments about his dad. Piers Morgan kept asking about his dad, and Eubank was doing his best to be polite and sort of answer it, but then change the subject onto Connor's failed test. Connor kept trying to go back to Eubank's dad not liking him and wanting part of it. It was a bit of a roundabout sort of thing, though, mate. But look, even though Connor was cleared, mate, I'll be honest with you, for me, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't like what Connor did. I know technically he's been cleared, but again, where there's smoke, there's fire, mate. So, I'm not a fan of Connor Ben, put it that way. All right, Tom's dad, Naz. The Times Square fight week will be a hard watch with Tszyu Sr., Henry Garcia, Bill Haney. I didn't even think of that, Naz. You're right there. The three most annoying dads in boxing looking to make it all about themselves. Yeah, geez, that's going to be entertaining. And then you throw in Devon and Ryan, who are going to be trying to take the limelight, as they should. They're actually fighting on the card. Then you're going to have Barboza in there. Then you're going to have Rolly Romero in there as well. It's going to be just a big circus, isn't it? Be awesome to be there for that. I'd love to be there for that whole weekend. You got the Friday night with this card, a bit of a gap night, enough time to get to Vegas and watch the Canelo fight on the big screens, and then the Nail Inoue fight on the Sunday night. It'd be awesome, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get there. Johnny Aringo, I reckon Junto Nakatani is not a zero chance of beating Inoue. Not favourite, of course, but not zero chance. No, I'm with you, Johnny. I think he's a great chance to beat Inoue. Probably the best chance out there, probably apart from Rodriguez. But no, he's definitely a live chance, mate. No drama about that. Yes, Drunken Boxing. That was OG. What was it? OG. Sorry. It was OG. Lights Out, I think it was, wasn't it? Where are you, OG Lights Out? It was him. He was the one saying Basir would upset Zarafa. Ali, Michael Zarafa is similar to Brock. He needs a full-time trainer again. Since separating from Sam Labruna, he's been on a downward trend, almost like he's training himself. Yeah, well, he does talk about doing some sessions with Nonito Donaire, but why wasn't Nonito Donaire in the corner? He obviously, did he go over to Vegas or something to train with him? I don't know, but if you've got a trainer, you've got a trainer. You can't just go and train with Nonito Donaire and then come back and have Glenn Rushton in your corner. I mean, what's all that about? Was Glenn Rushton actually his cornerman? I don't think he was. Who else was in his corner? Someone else was. But Glenn Rushton was there. It was a really odd-looking corner, by the way. So, yeah, I'm with you. Have a trainer or don't have a trainer. Look, in my opinion, with Michael Zarafa, it's going to be hard enough winning a title at any stage, but at least get a world-renowned trainer. And if it's Nonito Donaire, that's great, but at least have him in your corner. Be having part of your team. Not just go and train with him and come back and have Glenn Rushton in your corner. It just doesn't make sense. But I'm with you. Ali, since he left Sam Labruna, arguably he's probably maybe going a little bit backwards. I don't know, but what's that, Dennis? Oh, Bruce Stall, when he's the headband into the stands. I remember that for sure. All right, Jules, I hope Terramona's opponent isn't Ranjit Singh, one of the worst heavyweights getting around the domestic scene. Well, don't hold your breath on that one, Jules, because it quite possibly be him. Hang on, let's have a quick look at that. Hang on, if it's the one you're talking about. There's a lot of Singhs out there, though, Jules. That's all I'll say, mate. There's a lot of them out there. It's a bit like Smith here in Australia, I think. Ranjit Singh. Is he current? Is that him? 6 and 9. Yep. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses in a row he's had. And 7 losses in a row, including 5 knockout losses. And one of those losses was to Hayden Wright. And I like the H-bomb, but if you're getting stopped by, with all due respect to the H-bomb, if you're getting stopped in 2 rounds by him, you're not beating Terramona. That's all I will say. AI, how many pay-per-view buys do they get for these no-limit shows? Well, it just depends there. I'm going to call you AI. For a Tim Tszyu, look, I've heard all different numbers. I'm thinking for a Tim Tszyu fight, they might get maybe about 30,000. That's what I've heard, about 30,000. The Sam Goodman one would have got about 30. Not 30,000, about 30. Nikita would probably get about 10, I reckon. Yep. Who else is there? Oh, Liam hasn't been on there. They're probably the only ones that have been on pay-per-views, haven't they? Yeah, but that's why they have to charge $70, mate, because the shows aren't cheap. William G. Hey, I've been thinking this for a while concerning George Rose doing his sit-downs with Nikita Tszyu. I don't think he's doing Nikita any favours doing these. I'm a big fan of both Tszyus. I must admit, William, I don't really watch those sit-downs because, look, I'd rather sit down and watch a Jay McAllister or a Noonan Boy, one of those guys, interview Nikita or Tim or Michael Zarafa, whoever it might be. When George does it, it's just pretty much the boys catching up. He doesn't ask the hard questions. It's just it's a bit of a piss take if you ask me. I know it's good. It's good they do it. It's part of their channel. I like it, but I like hard hitting. Well, not hard hitting, but serious interviews. Not just George joking with Nikita about how quirky he is and how he eats raw meat and all the rest of it. It's not for me. I know there are people out there that watch it. There's so much content out there on YouTube and other social media channels than to sit down and have just a nice little warm sit down with the boys. As I said, I'd rather see Noonan Boy or Jay McAllister or someone interview those guys. I think they get a lot more out of it. Daniel Fao, is that your name? Is I pronounced that right, Daniel? Apologies if I haven't pronounced it right. We've got a new superstar coming through the ranks. Jackson White Chocolate Murray. Come on, Daniel. Come on, mate. Hang on. I'm going to put him in there. Jackson is the heavyweight, isn't it? Jackson Murray. I hope you jest there, Daniel. Where is it? Is he the heavyweight? Yes, he's the heavyweight. Look, I hope you're right there, Daniel. I don't share your enthusiasm there, though, mate. No, I'm glad he's got some fans like you out there, but a superstar, I don't think so. All right, AI. Fundora was talking about rematch. Surely they would take that over Thurman. Well, it just depends on his management, AI. So I think the Tim rematch makes a hell of a lot of sense, especially if they bring Fundora to Australia. So if Tim gets past, it all comes down to timing, by the way. If Tim gets past Keith Thurman, and Fundora is available and ready and willing and able, and to bring him to Australia, that would almost be one of the biggest fights this country has ever seen. As far as interest, as far as paydays, they'll be able to spin the hell out of that fight. That would be massive. But timing's got to come together, and Tim's got to get past Thurman first. And Fundora's got to get past Shordale Booker first, so let's hope he can get past him. All right, Raleigh Frame. How are you, Raleigh? Welcome to the show. I've noticed the No Limits Thurman versus Jarvis fight streamed for free on YouTube day or two after being on main event for $70. I still ordered to watch live. I enjoyed Thurman's ring walk. Yeah, it's always a couple of days after, Raleigh. They'll always put it on. Afterwards, you might get a few pirate sort of clips that people will put up. I'm not sure how long they last, but yeah, it's normally a couple of days after, or at least one day, if not two afterwards. Yep, and good that you're ordering the fight, Raleigh. That's what keeps these fights on TV. All right, Daniel. All right, geez, hang on. Capital letters here. Let's see. Tim will not beat Keith Thurman. How dare you say that, Daniel, being an Aussie? Cannot believe for the life of me why his team are insistent on that fight. Surely it's in the best interest to prolong his career, not end it. Very bad fight for him. Yeah, I'm with you, Daniel. Or Dan, sorry. I'm with you. Look, it depends. Look, if Tim comes out and looks super impressive against Joey Spencer and really has a really good win, I'm all for the Keith Thurman fight. But if he does come out and still looks like the same Tim that we saw last year, yeah, I'm with you there, mate. But all will be revealed when Tim fights in, about 3 weeks' time. But we'll come back to that. So you've said he will not beat Keith Thurman. I think a lot of people actually agree with you out there too, mate. So, Minnesota Mick, man, our guy whooped on that kid down there in Jarvis. He certainly did, Minnesota Mick. He put a whooping on that kid for sure. What's the Noonan Boy page saying on Cambosis? Well, you can be guaranteed it's all positive, Mick, because obviously Noonan Boy is George's spokesman, and that's awesome. Noonan Boy doing great things for Australian Boxing Central here, mate. And if Noonan Boy hasn't broken the story, then it hasn't been broken. He's the man when it comes to boxing media in this country, mate. He's Noonan Boy. I hope he's not watching. I don't want to pump him up too much, but he's a good man, Noonan Boy. And as I said, he's the voice of boxing media in this country. All right, Raleigh. I recently watched Buckram Murtazayev coach interview, and they're interested in the future Buckram Thurman fight as they can't get a fight. Ortiz won't take that fight next. Good call, Raleigh, because I did read the article with Buckram. I think it was, I can't remember if it was actually Buckram himself or his trainer, saying they just can't get a fight. And who knows, if Buckram Murtazayev's team come with a better offer than No Limit, then maybe he'll fight him instead. So we've got a super chat there from Justin Footed. How are you there, Justin? I'll get to your other comments soon. Sorry, mate. Hang on, what's that? 729, is that because you're in Bali, I think, aren't you, Justin? Whatever that is, mate, I really appreciate it. Hopefully it's 729 Australian dollars, but I've got a feeling it's not. Nah, I really appreciate it, mate. It doesn't matter, it's $1 or $50, mate. I really appreciate it and hope you're doing well over there in, as I said, I think it's Bali, isn't it? So if I'm wrong, let me know. All right, so, geez, 20 minutes to go. I've got to get through a few comments there. All right, Tony. I'd love my man John Manu to step in for Jordan. I'm a believer he's a real deal. I'm with you there, Tony, and he has said he's ready to go. And I've got a feeling, I know someone said Jake Wiley before. I think if we're going to put anyone in there, I would fancy John Manu to step in there. I think John might be, obviously a little bit early for him, but you never know. You talk about Brock Jarvis fighting Thurman. I'd love to see John Manu step in to fight George Kambosos. We've seen it with Stevie Spark do it against Tszyu. Why couldn't John Manu do it with George Kambosos? I think that would be a good fight. Pretty hard to sell, but it's last minute. Look, I think it's all about the George Kambosos show anyway. No one's really going there to see Jordan, are they? So if it's John Manu, the fact that John Manu being another Aussie might just create a bit more hype in it, get a few more eyeballs on it, and maybe, who knows, got my conspiracy theory hat on, the tinfoil hat. Maybe with ticket sales maybe being so low and no one really giving a shit about the fight, could it be a little bit of tactics to say, let's get this guy out of here and let's replace him with an Aussie and get a bit of media coverage on it and a few more eyeballs on our event. Not saying it's true, but I've just been around boxing for far too long and I've seen stranger things happen. All right. Minnesota Mick Noonan will drop the official announcement for Kambosos. You bet your ass he will, Mick. Polly the Farmer. Inoue is not purposely taking trash fights. His opponents keep pulling out. Goodman twice now, Picasso. What's he supposed to do? Good call, Polly. Yep, we didn't sort of factor that in, did we? Yep. And he's beaten everybody. Hasn't he? Actually, if you look at Naoya Inoue, look at the rankings. Who is he supposed to fight? Now, MJ, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I always muck it up and people always have a crack at me about it. How I can't pronounce names. In my mind, I can see they roll off the tongue, but they just don't come off properly, do they? All right, so at that weight, at 122, I mean, Sam's pulled out twice, and you're right, Picasso. Tapales has beaten MJ, and look what Inoue did to Tapales. So I'm not that stressed about even the MJ fight. I know everyone's, especially Eddie Hearn's, banging the fist on the table, but Inoue made mincemeat of Tapales, and Tapales beat MJ. So why are we all demanding that he fights MJ? Who else is there? He's fighting Cardenas, who's the number one challenger for the WBA. For the WBO, you've got Carl James Martin. Well, whoopsie-doo. Sam Goodman's there, already been there, done that. Alan Picasso's out. Tapales already beaten. Goodman's doesn't want a bar of it. Cardenas is fighting. Neary's he's beaten. Tapales he's beaten. Who else is he supposed to fight? I don't understand the pot shots at Naoya Inoue. I really don't. He fights often and he fights all the guys they keep throwing at him. Remember, you've got to satisfy 4 sanctioning bodies. So it might be great. Well, he's got to fight MJ. Well, what about... Well, Sam Goodman's still rated number 1 with the IBF. Cardenas is number 1 with the WBA, who he is fighting next. He tried to fight Goodman. Now he's fighting Cardenas. Tried to fight Picasso. He didn't want to bar it, so he's out. He was number 1 with the WBC. And Martin with the WBO. Who is he? You know, I'll say it 4 times. Who, it was 3 times, whatever. Who is Carl Martin? Never heard of him. All right. Naz, with Fundora and Ramos Jr. fighting on the same card this weekend, I wonder if Ramos will get the next shot at Fundora. Makes a lot of sense, Naz. They normally do it that way, don't they? Drunken Boxing, Keith sold the hell out of that fight. Well, I thought Brock did a pretty good job there, Drunken Boxing. I thought he did his best. He's just a little bit out of his depth outside the ring as well as inside the ring. What do we got there? Why don't Aussie boxers learn all defensive techniques? Hardly any are schooled with the Philharmonic. Your guess is as good as mine, Sam the man. Some trainers are better than others, mate. That's all I can bring it down to. Trevor, viewers can purchase super stickers. Oh, okay, which then appear as animated stickers in the live chat, making them more prominent than regular chat messages. Thanks very much, Trevor. Appreciate it, mate. What do you got there? Why don't... Yeah, okay, about defensive again. Rarely see the Philly shell here. Jarvis had no clue once he was hit. The US, Russian, Ukrainian, Mexican fighters are all very well schooled. Well, I don't like seeing the Philly shell style at all, Sam the man, unless you are an elite fighter like a Floyd Mayweather or a Devin Haney or a Shakur Stevenson. They get away with it. I hate when I see kids being shown the Philly shell. This, you don't know it's this. You know, the arm across, you can't see it there, and they fight like this. Ridiculous to teach a kid, or even just a novice, or pretty much anyone that's not a super talent, because it's a very risky way to fight. And as I said, unless you are very, very elite, it's suicide as far as I'm concerned. You're going to get caught eventually. But you're right, US, Russian, Ukrainian, Mexican fighters are all very well schooled. Yeah. Look, I don't know, Sam. I don't know. I can't answer that question. Maybe we need to get a lot more of our fighters to go, because there's not really an Aussie style, is there? Well, that's probably there is. We lead with our faces. No, we don't. I'm only joking if you're a fighter out there watching. But we love, the Aussie mantra sort of is we love to fight. We love to get in and get dirty and get it on. We're not very intelligent. You know, we don't stand off and box smart, I suppose, do we? We get a little bit caught up. The Russian, Ukrainian, and Mexican fighters are very disciplined, very, very disciplined in the way they fight, and they've got very definitive styles. US is a bit like Australia, though, I reckon. You get all sorts of different styles. You get boxers, you get punchers, you get the slick Philly shell types of guys, and then you get the ones that lead with their faces. So, but then I think there's a Japanese style as well, that razor sharp, bouncing on your feet, you know, in and out, super quick with the hands, and yeah, there's all different styles, but Australia, probably like the US, we don't have one definitive style. We're just a bit of everything. All right, Jules, does Nikita have the team to teach him that? When Tim got dropped against Gorshay, he got up and punched his way out of it. When he got dropped against Barkram, he only knew one way, and look how that happened. There's levels, Jules. Gorshay is not Barkram, obviously, so... still with Jules, even when they got cut and backed up by Fundora, I don't recall much holding or circling out. Sorry, when he got cut and backed up by Fundora. Yeah, no, well, I think we can all agree, Jules, it was a very average night for Team Tszyu in the ring and in the corner as well. So I think we've been over that 100 times, but I'm with you, mate. A little bit different with Fundora, though. I don't think he was ever hurt by Fundora. It's a little bit different. I mean, if anything, when you think about it, he probably maybe could have tried to get close to Fundora, but of course, the closer you get, you can't see. You've literally got a blindfold on. Look, I'll say it again, Jules. It shouldn't have even come down to that. It should have been stopped after the second round, worst case the third. Simple as that. Sam the man, what are you feeling about the Blues this week? To give the heavy bag a workout? I'll be giving it a work. I gave it a good workout over the weekend, mate, I tell you. I'm not feeling very good about the Blues this week, mate. I think they'll get flogged by Hawthorn. We'll keep it short and sharp with that preview. They're going to get thrashed. Team Batman says, I still think Tim will destroy Thurman. So not just beat him, destroy him. That's interesting. What else? I hate the idea of Dana in boxing paying his peanuts, I would assume. Yep, I agree. That's Dana White. Mr. Serioso. These fights in Perth, please. Big stadium here that will sell out. Well, I went to the Kambosos and Lomachenko fight over there, Mr. Serioso, and loved the stadium. I love the city. Beautiful city, Perth. Yes, it's a long way over there in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's not in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of the west coast. But love Perth, mate, and a fantastic stadium there as well. Loved it. Watch Ammo Williams versus Volney, says Drunken Boxing. Volney boxing defense. How do you break that? Yeah, I didn't watch all the fight there, Drunken Boxing. I only saw the highlights of that one, if I'm being honest. He looked okay, Ammo. It was a close-ish fight. I thought it maybe could have gone either way, but Ammo, you'll probably get a world title shot now. But he has got a very good defense, does Volney, for sure. What do we got? Rally frame. Is Barkram possibly the boogeyman of 154 until proven otherwise, as no fighters will fight him? How will fans know if he can't get a fight? He'll get a fight. I can't believe he's a world champion and can't get a fight, Raleigh, but there's so much going on in the 154-pound division. Why not fight Bolchok? That seems a pretty good fight, doesn't it? I mean, Bolchok, he missed out on the Ortiz fight. Where is he ranked in that? Let's have a quick look. He's ranked number 9, but then again, number 1 and 2. Again, how do you have vacant rankings? 1 and 2 are vacant. So technically, he's ranked number 7. Is Bolchok? That would be a good fight. And Bolchok, I think, would step up, no dramas at all. So who else is there? Lubin, Josh Kelly, Zayos, Callum Walsh, Andrew Holmes, Ramos, of course, and then Bolchok. Tim's still ranked number 10 in the IBF, which is interesting in itself. So I wouldn't say he's a boogeyman, Raleigh. I think he was made to look a lot better than what he actually is against Tim. He caught Tim, I get it. Good on him. I'm just going to make a pretty bold statement now that as soon as Barkram fights one of those other guys that are prepared for what he brings, I think he gets exposed a little bit. I think he'd be a shot against Fundora. I think any puncher is against Fundora, but I think Ortiz would beat. I think a lot of other those contenders would possibly beat him as well. I'm not totally sold on Barkram just yet. He looked sensational against Tim, but the fight before that, which was against, if I can bring it up, Tszyu. I'm going to bring up Barkram. He had a fight before that, which was, who was it? It was Jack Colkay, that's right. And really struggled to beat Jack Colkay. Although he did stop him in the end, didn't he? In 11th, yeah. But he took a lot early on. So, yeah, I'm not totally sold, mate. Maybe I'm wrong. I know it's a bold statement considering what he did to Tim. But, yeah, I'd like to see him back it up against a fighter that's really prepared for what he brings and doesn't just walk ahead with his sort of chin up in the air. Drew, Turkey and Dana League seems like more of a vision than a certified business plan that will solidify boxing. Too many variables, opposing forces, and moving parts. 100% agree, Drew. Dana's own mum dislikes him, says a lot about the man. Is that right? I didn't know that. Jay Brown, Liam Wilson officially posts for George on Instagram on 5 days' notice. It's heating up. Wow, if that is the case, how good would that be? Oh, surely Liam couldn't back up this weekend. What's it been, 2 weeks? And Liam took a lot of punishment in that last fight. Plus, he was cut. That fight's not happening, I don't reckon. Justin, Nikita appears to have a low boxing IQ. Yeah, no, it's a good call too, mate. D-style, the cats and swans sounds tough, yep. Drunken boxing, a swan probably beats an eel in a fight, to be honest. Yeah, maybe. Swans can be a problem when they have a temper. Yeah, well, I've seen plenty of swans chuck a wobbly there, D-style, and chase down people. Yeah, so you might be right. But it's not the most threatening name, is it? The Swans and the Cats. And the Saints is the other one, the Saints. I was at the ball fight. I think he easily beats Fulton or Leo, says Batman. Should take one of the titles while watching for Inaway in December. Okay, yeah, that's great you were there, mate. I've said it 100 times, I'd love to get to England for a big fight, mate. I know that wasn't a massive fight, but to be there for 11,000 people in Liverpool. I've actually been to Liverpool a couple of times, and I'd love to go to somewhere like that, or Manchester, or obviously London to see a big fight. It'd be awesome. Jules, what did you like and not like about Kira Rustin's performance? I really liked his patience. How do you think they move him? Paul Okuso, a little bit to say about it. I don't think Kira Rustin's ready for, obviously, Paul Okuso at the moment. I still think, look, he had a good jab. Okay with his kit of punches, I suppose. I know it's a bit of a cliche. Still a little bit stiff for me, Jules. A little bit robotic. I'm not sure he's going to have the overall ability to move, especially at Paulo Okuso. Callum Peters is only in the early stage of his career. Still a long way to go for me, Kira. I just thought he looked okay. He just looked okay. Good performance, don't get me wrong, and he put him away, and that's great. I'm just not sure whether he's going to be the guy, that can challenge a Paulo Okuso at the level. I hope we see him and he does get to that level, but just still unproven, mate. So I just think the jury's still out on him. I'm surprised they're putting him in with Callum Peters or vice versa so early in their careers as well. Yep, Sam likes a Mexican style. Yeah, well, D-style, apparently that's what's happening. He's out, so let's see. I've seen nothing so far though. I'll quickly check. If it is official, it's going to be on not on Australian Boxing Central, and that's Noonan Boys. So it's not on. Well, I'll go to Aussie Boxing The Truth. No, nothing on there at the moment. See, Lester Ellis is 60. Wow, that's crazy. All right, we'll move on. We've got a few minutes to go. Brock's appearance at Keith's Open training was Brock trying to sell the fight by showing up. I'm confused about what he was doing. I'm more worried Brock didn't appear to know what he was doing. I think just a bit out of his league there, AA. Just way out of his league, mate. That's all it is. Justin, would be great to hear Aussie underdogs be more humble, saying they know they're an underdog, but they're going to give it my best shot. Good, humble approach will adore more fans to get behind him. Hey, mate, I'm with you 100%. What happened to the days of Lester and Jeff Fennick and those types of guys who, that's exactly what they did say. I know it's a big step up. I'm just going to do my best. I want to do Australia proud. What happened to that? That's probably what turned me off Brock Jarvis a little bit in that fight, by carrying on like a bit of a Fruit Loop, if I'm being honest, or very, very what'd you call it? Very disrespectful to Keith Thurman. All he had to do was say, "Hey, look, I know I'm the opponent here. I know they're trying to line Keith up for Tszyu. I want to spoil the party. I know what my position is, but I'm confident I can do it. Australia, get behind me. I'm going to try and do this and set up a fight with Zarafa or Tszyu or wherever it might be and do it that way." Someone like me shouldn't be almost hoping he gets clipped because of the way he's carried on in the lead up to it. I know we don't like the tall poppy sort of thing, or we do have the tall poppy syndrome here, but I think the way Brock carried on made it very, very hard to get behind him, if I'm being honest. So, Drew, if you go back in time and be a mature age without knowing the results, what would you have preferred to watch, Ali Fraser 3 or Ali Foreman? Without knowing the results, Ali Foreman, mate, for sure. Carl, we have another crazy dad this week, Jim Cambosis. No, he's all good, knows his boxing. Yeah, I love Jim Cambosis, Carl. I don't think he's as bad as a lot of those others. I think he obviously loves his son, loves to talk it up. He loves a little bit of the limelight. He loves to do the interview, and I think he gets excited about it. I think Jim's a great guy. And I will say again, I've mentioned a few times on this show, when I went over to Oklahoma a couple of years ago to see George and Maxie Hughes, Jim and George and the whole team welcome in. They were awesome. So you won't hear me say a bad word about Jim or George. They were absolutely fantastic. Let me in on the rules meeting and the gloves and all. When they chose the gloves and the weigh-in, all that stuff, couldn't have been more welcoming. So as I said, you won't hear me say a bad word about either of those guys, even though he is a bit crazy. AA, lots of criticism about Tim's team. Reckon it's founded or not. If it is and no changes are made, then as the saying goes, if he always does what he always did, he'll always get what he's always got. That's a bit of a tongue twister. I reckon it is founded, AA. I do think it's founded. Look, after the Fundora debacle, they did get a bit of a free pass, I think, for the way they handled that fight. But the way they handled the Bakram Murtazela fight, it should have been stopped. As soon as he went out for the third round and got rocked, or he might have got dropped straight away, didn't he? They should have threw the towel in right there and then. They allowed him to get up and take more punishment. Should have been over. They should have said to him in between rounds, Tim, if you get hurt again, this fight's over. And he went out there and got dropped in the first minute and a half, and they didn't stop the fight, and he got up and they allowed him, and along with the referee, by the way, he should have stopped it as well, but they allowed Tim to probably take 6, 7, 8 punches more than what he really needed to take, and that's bad. And when you've got his brother throwing in the towel, that is wrong. Even if he had it in his hand, his Uncle Eagle should have said, Nikita, give me the towel. Probably at the start of the round, give me the towel. As soon as he got dropped, should have went in straight away. Should not be one of the, even though it's his brother, shouldn't have been one of the team throwing the towel. Should have been the chief's second, which is Igor. All right, Andy. Tim got to deal with Joey Spencer first, but if Fundora willing to do Tim rematch next, hop to it, I say. I like it. What's that? Jai Klops. Daniel Fowle has copped a few too many left rights with those Jackson Murray comments. Bloody bean. Ty Bart. How much is it, OG? How much is 700? Was it 709? Sorry, hang on. 729. Bart, let me know. I really appreciate it too, though, Justin. Jules, Manu is a big 140-pounder. He's too dangerous, in my opinion, if he walks through shots like he did with Tate. He did get knocked out in the States, though, Jules did, Manu. So, look, I think he'd give George a very, very good fight. And maybe George doesn't want a very risky fight like that against someone who's totally unknown and risking it all. So it'll be interesting. They'll have to get somebody. And if John Manu's ready to go, I don't think it'd be Liam Wilson. Surely not. He got cut. He's been banged up. Tough fight 2 weeks ago. I strongly doubt that fight that happens. But Manu does make all the sense in the world. But someone said before it might be Jake Wiley. I don't think that makes sense at all, though. Daniel, Liam Wilson just offered to fight Kambosos. Good mail saying Jordan is definitely out. Wow, this is what gives me PTSD as a promoter. Fair income, unless it's strategic. Yes, drunken boxing. Yeah, we block punches with the face. We certainly do. Liam and Kambosos will be nice, Andy, but geez, as I said, I mean, he's coming off a real hard fight 2 weeks ago against Yusuf Dib. As I said, cut, banged up. Oh, I'd be staggered if... I mean, didn't he have, like, stitches in his face? No, that fight's not happening. There's no way he'll pass. All good, bacon and eggs. You can always stream it afterwards, mate. We're almost finished anyway. Actually, we've got a couple of questions to go. Actually, I think that might be it. Hang on. We've got Big J. The fight against Cool K for Barkram. Barkram was in 28 days of Ramadan. Yeah, I know that. Yep, so not eating or drinking from sun up to sundown. He was drained for that fight. Don't sell him short. He's the man at 154. Is he the man at 154, Big J, or just one of the men at 154? If I had to say the best fighter at 154, I'm still sticking with our man Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz, I think, is the number one 154 pounder. But anyway, we'll let you guys argue about that. What do we got there? Raleigh, I'm a casual fan, but becoming more interested. What style of fighter is Tszyu? I understand he's a pressure fighter. Not really a pressure fighter, Raleigh. I think he's more of an aggressive counterpuncher. It's probably the best way to describe him, an aggressive counterpuncher. He likes to come forward, but he likes you to punch first and then retaliate. He needs to get back to knowing exactly what type of fighter he is. I think at the moment he's a little bit in between. He was a counter puncher, then he thought he was a puncher, got nailed. So, but I think the best way to describe him, mate, is an aggressive counter puncher. All right. I think that is going to do it. Hang on. Virgil had an opportunity to fight Bakram but declined. Give Bolchuk the opportunity. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. I'm with you there. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We are 1 minute past 9. As always, it has been a pleasure to be on here with you. It always flies by. I really appreciate everyone that tunes in every week, every morning for Walking Boxing as well. So if you haven't seen that before, if you're new to the channel, every day I walk my dog Neil and I do a sort of a 20-minute wrap up of what's been going on in the boxing world. And what's that there? Sorry, I'm not sure about that one there, mate. And I really appreciate everyone sending me comments, messages, articles, whatever it might be. The more, the better, and it keeps me up to date with what's going on, because it's pretty hard to have, a view of everything that's going on in the world. As we've just seen tonight, I thought I was across it, and apparently Dord Jordan is out of the George Kambosos fight, and I only checked social media just before I come on, and there was nothing on there. But anyway, more of that will come to light, I'm sure, over the next few hours or the next day or so. So again, guys, have a great week, and we'll catch you next Monday night on Talking Boxing.